Monday, October 9th. Good morning, 49ers fans. This is your 49ers Wake Up, brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods, Damon Bruce and Larry Krueger. After a resounding, everyone in the football world's full attention is being paid to what the 49ers did to the Dallas Cowboys. Larry, a dismantling. I know you and I both feel a little dismantled right now. You were at the stadium to about 1 o'clock in the morning. You look no worse for wear, brother. What a night for the Niners last night. How are you, pal?
Oh, man, I'm so fired up for the show today. And what can I say? I mean, that was a tremendous performance all the way through. Brock Purdy was spectacular. The Niners, Christian McCaffrey was spectacular. Jordan Mason, how about Jordan Mason? Almost 7 yards a carry. His 26-yard touchdown run may have kind of shown even Kyle Shanahan more than he even knew that he had in Jordan Mason. Then mix in George Kittle, the flea flicker, the defense, Fred Warner. I mean, my God, Fred Warner had maybe the greatest linebacking game I've seen in years. 8 tackles, 5 solo, sacked the quarterback, tackle for a loss, defended a pass, hit the quarterback, intercepted a pass. Absolutely amazing. Dre Greenlaw, equally amazing. And I mean, to me, Damon, the play though, that when I think of this game and I think of the Niners and what they have, all the momentum they have going right now, I'm going to be thinking of Kevin Givens, who, had 2 tackles, also had a sack on the quarterback, but it was his fumble recovery on the hustle play, on the Pollard run, which just signifies where the Niners are as a team. I mean, Pollard, deep in his own territory, runs it out to like the 10-yard line. Warner pops the ball loose, and here's a 290-pound defensive tackle, hustling on the play and scoops it up right before it goes out of bounds, and the Niners get a turnover. Now, the Niners, of course, would fumble a couple plays later, and it didn't really amount to much. But to me, ultimately, that was just like the culture, the revelation of the Niner culture is Givens and the hustle on that play. And then I went in the locker room and I talked to Oren Burks. I said to Oren Burks, I'm like, Oren, you're like a split personality. Because like in the locker room, he's like, oh, shucks, nice guy, real nice. On the field, the guy's a menace.
Frisky.
The guy's a freaking menace. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles was just, I said to him about Brock, I'm like, when did you know Brock was Brock? And he's like, training camp of last year when he was cooking us on defense, and we're looking around going, who is this guy? This guy is more than just a, 7th round Mr. Irrelevant. So that was a long time ago. And here we are, Damon, the 9th of October, 2023. And I think last night was the national coming out party for Brock Purdy. I think everybody sees now what Flannigan-Fowles and the players saw long ago. And that is that the Niners have a better quarterback right now than they've had since Steve Young. And when you can mix in, they can score 30 and 40 regularly with this defense that holds you to 10 regularly. And you got to think that if the 49ers can stay healthy, they got a ticket for Vegas this year and the Super Bowl. And it's not putting the cart before the horse. And obviously a lot has to happen between now and then, but this is the best team in the league.
12 weeks and 2 playoff games stand between the 49ers and the Super Bowl. We're not even going to go down that road. I'm worried about Cleveland already, but we're not going to worry about what's coming up in the future. The whole point of you joining us here is to celebrate what happened, and there's plenty to celebrate last night. We start with just the facts here on the Damon and Larry Palmetto Superfoods 49er Wake Up Day After Show, sweeping the Bay Area, the largest program emanating from the Bay Area probably right now at this hour. So it's great to have everyone here. It really is. Thank you very much for joining us. By the way, I do have the actual acai bowl to show off. So, you and I, when we went down, we got the mediums. Charles sent over the behemoth for us to look at this thing. I mean, you can put your head in this. It is delicious. It's out of the freezer. But if you see a little frost, it's only because it's out of the freezer, baby. But it is so good. It's au natural. That's the acai. That's the dragon fruit. Coconutty goodness. And we'll tell you much more about these and where you can get them. And believe me, once you try them, you'll want more. But we start, Larry, with just the facts. That's kind of where we begin this show. It doesn't have much form to it. It's very free-flowing. But we begin every week with the Just the Facts segment. I'm going to present these to you. You stop when you want to talk about the facts that I'm presenting to you. Fact number one. Fact number one, the most important fact in the room. The 49ers' 15-game winning streak is tied for the longest in franchise history. Now, to tell you what that was, that's George Seifert's first 2 years. That's the Super Bowl season of 89 rolling into 90. Both of those, look at it this way. One of those years was 14-2 for the 49ers. The other one of those years was 14-2 for the 49ers. This is a team that is now being able to measure its success directly against the most golden, warm, and fuzzy memory you have about the 49ers. That's what they're doing. They're playing on a level of football right now that is the same level of football as the most glorified days in NFL history, which are, the middle of that 49er dynasty. This is
which I'll just jump in and say, the 49ers, Damon, have had it going in individual years since that point. 1994, they won the Super Bowl. They went to the Super Bowl where you and I sat next to each other in New Orleans. Was that 2013 or 2012?
The Beyonce Bowl.
Right. Then they had the 1 year in 2019 with this regime, but now they're back. They've had individual years where they've dabbled on being close to being back, but now they're back. Now they're literally back. This is not a 1 year thing they're back. They've been in the NFC title game 3 of the last 4 years. They now have their quarterback. They have belief in their quarterback. They've got the offense to match their defense. They're back. To that point. Damon, I never thought they would get back. I never thought they would get back to being truly on top of the football world. And that's where they're at right now. They're truly on top of the football world.
Yeah, this is Montana, Rice, Rathman, Roger Craig, Taylor, Ronnie Lott. We could throw Kevin Fagan's name in there. He deserves to get a mention. Charles Haley, of course, Brent Jones,
Michael Carter. Yep.
This is it's a level of success that is walking hand in hand with the greatest run of dynastic football seen in this league outside of Cowboys triplets, Chuck Noll's Steelers, Tom Brady's Patriots. This is special. What we're looking at is special. Let's not wait for the year to finish before we acknowledge what we're looking at is very special. Brock Purdy, just the facts here, Larry. Brock Purdy follows his career-high completion percentage game with his career-high touchdown passes game. He threw 4 last night, 3 to George Kittle. That is now George Kittle's new career high for touchdown receptions in any game. And Brock Purdy, now through 10 starts in his career, has the highest passer rating through the first 10 starts of a player's career in football history. That's who Brock Purdy is. That's why Trey Lance couldn't get the job, folks. That's why Jimmy Garoppolo became expendable real fast. Trey Lance is off to the best start any quarterback has ever had from a how you measure this with a passer rating.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said Trey Lance is off to the best start. But yeah, no, I know you meant Brock Purdy.
I did.
No, I mean it's absolutely amazing. Right now they're playing on a level that bring it on. Bring it on. Now, next week's going to be a really tough game. But And there's some trap games here. They're going to be up against
Oh,
Cincinnati in a few weeks.
Don't get in the schedule yet. Don't even start.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
all right.
way too far away from that. But look, Purdy's got the highest passer rating through 10 starts in NFL history. Last night was Dallas's most lopsided defeat in a decade. You got to go back to 2013 to see the Dallas Cowboys get clocked like that. And again, I don't want to start projecting 49ers future here. What do you project for Dak Prescott's future? Larry, he might be done after this year in Dallas. If the point is we got to win Super Bowls over here, I think Dak Prescott last night proved implicitly against a real nasty defense, he's not the guy who's going to do it. That was on McCarthy. That was on Dak. That was on a lot of Cowboys. They thought that they went in to that game ready for a fight. They got popped in the nose and they balled up and died. I couldn't believe the way they tucked their tails in between their legs and jogged into the locker room with about 25 seconds on third down remaining in the first half. They just said, we're good. We're going to go and talk about this before we run another play. That's how poorly this is going for us.
Well, and to me, I mean, yes, the head coach and the quarterback take the blame. But let's call this for what it was. This was awesome offense by the 49ers. The Cowboys have a defense that allowed a league low 10.3 points per game through the first month of the year. They gave up 21 points through the first 6 possessions of the game. You know, they have a defense that allowed 2 touchdown passes in the first 4 games. They watched Brock Purdy throw 4. They have a defense that recorded 14 sacks in 4 games. They sacked Brock Purdy 1 time. You know, I mean, their run D got gashed for 170 and 2 touchdowns on 41 carries. So, you know, Dak said it afterwards at the podium. He says, man, didn't see it coming. This is his exact quote. Put everything into it, got punched in the mouth. Called it a couple weeks ago, humbling against Arizona, but this may be the most humbling I've ever been a part of. Felt good about the preparation, felt good about everything, honestly, coming into this game, matchups, and they beat us in every aspect. So my favorite quote from the Niners side of things, Damon, came from Diamador Lenore. He was asked this question: do you think this puts you guys at the very top of the NFL as a team right now? And he said, and a lot of guys are humble, but corners typically aren't. He said, for sure, when you look at that game and look at other teams, it's not even close. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's not close. Wow.
You know, look, I watched a very impressive, very physical, awfully nasty and angry Philadelphia Eagles team yesterday down in Los Angeles, where they were in a dogfight there with the Rams until they took it over with as dominant a fourth quarter and as physical a fourth quarter as you'll see anybody put on tape. But I really do believe that when we talk about the best teams in football, we're not just talking about Philadelphia and San Francisco as the best in the NFC. Those might be the best 2 teams in all football right now. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs just aren't who they used to be. The Buffalo Bills are not the team that was promised. The Miami Dolphins, very interesting. They generate a lot of yards. Let's see what they become. But I'm still not ready to confer best team in football status to them. This is a rousing start. And every game continues to give us data points that are so overwhelmingly in the odds of the 49ers being a very safe bet for the best team in football this year that, again, if you're a 49er fan, you've been waiting years for this. And Larry, as you said, you didn't think something like this dominant could come back around. Here it is. Here it is. The 49ers generated 9 first downs last night, forced a fumble, sacked Dak Prescott twice, had scored 14 points, survived their own goal line fumble before the Cowboys had even had a first down. It's unbelievable. I mean, wow. The Cowboys came out last night and went 3 and out on their first 4 possessions of the game. They had no shot to get anything going. And meanwhile, the only thing that really kept the Cowboys in that game conceptually, because they were conceptually in the game, as long as the scoreboard says it's close, you're conceptually in that game. The 49ers did more to keep that game close by not finishing off some of their drives early on than the Cowboys did.
It was an incredible performance on both sides of the ball. Think about it this way. with Prescott in at quarterback last night, they had 11 possessions. 9 of the 11 lasted 3 plays or less.
Wow.
9. So they had no momentum offensively, and they had no way to stop Kyle Shanahan. And I'll say this, Kyle Shanahan, to me, Damon, the biggest revelation of the day, and I think you're going to see lots of articles about this coming out in the next, if they're not already out, they'll be out in the next day or two. Kyle Shanahan basically kept calling passing. I mean, he could have called a lot more passing plays. They ran the ball 40 times. The Niners had 41 runs and 25 passes. Purdy was 17 of 24. Darnold 1 of 1. 25 passes, 41 runs. When he talked about it in the postgame, he, almost made it seem like he could have called a lot more passes. This is a guy that in their Super Bowl run with Jimmy Garoppolo literally took the ball out of his hands because he didn't trust him and did nothing but run it against Green Bay and Minnesota in that last run to the Super Bowl because he didn't trust Jimmy. Now he's got a quarterback that he trusts. He's got weapons that are primed for career years. He's got a vicious defense that added Javon Hargrave. They're a complete football team right now. They're an absolute complete football team. They got a punter that's downing you, pinning you inside your own 10-yard line. They got a kicker who can make a field goal from 60 yards out. They got veteran return people. They got veteran coaches. This team's primed. They're absolutely primed. I thought last night one of the major revelations of the game is that Jordan Mason is all grown up and ready to deliver and looks like a poor man's Marshawn Lynch and should be utilized. I know Elijah Mitchell's been a favorite. He was hurt, couldn't go. Sometimes you get Wally pipped. And Jordan Mason, looked – I said it in the pregame to Lo Neal. I said, Lo, after watching James Conner, a 230-pound back run through this Cowboy defense, I want to see Jordan Mason tonight because I think he can do a lot of the same things. Boom, 10 carries for Jordan Mason, 69 yards, 6.9 a carry, 26-yard. His 26-yard touchdown run had one amazing cut and some incredible juice. And we're talking about a guy who hasn't even seen the field. And it's the 9th of October, and they're just dusting this guy off. So, this is a hell of a football team. I'll say this. I walked into that locker room. Ronnie Bell, no catches. Ronnie Bell's very, very good. Tay Martin is a hell of a receiver. Wasn't even active. So, they've got a level of depth that other teams just don't have. And to me, this goes right back to John Lynch. Because John Lynch and Adam Peters and Kyle Shanahan have figured out the cap situation, and they are playing it like a fiddle. And nobody else in the league is doing this with the regularity. The Niners are getting great individual players in free agency. Last year, Mooney Ward. This year, Javon Hargrave. They're letting the rank-and-file free agent leave. They're taking back draft picks in the draft pick compensation program. They're turning them into younger players. They're drafting well on day 3 and picking up guys after the draft. The net result, Damon, is they've got great chemistry, a bevy of superstars, and the depth that's the envy of the league. And when you're there, personnel wise, it's get those rings sized up time.
Larry,
it's like they're there.
They're 5-0, coming off their most dominant win, maybe of the Kyle Shanahan era, if you want to consider reputation of opponent before stepping on the field. And they haven't even played Randy Gregory yet. They got Randy Gregory and Bubble Wrap, who we're going to see for the first time in Cleveland. So they're technically playing better than they ever have in the Shanahan era, and they're going to get a pretty good player to even buoy the depth that you're already talking about is a level of overwhelming rarely seen around football. Good morning. Welcome to 49ers Wake Up. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. It is the show that is sweeping the entire nation coming out of the Bay Area. We have you on lock every single day after the 49ers play. Be here at 8 a.m. Larry and I go for hours talking about what happened. And oh, yeah, there it is. You read my mind, Krueger. Use that QR code, scan it right now, download the Palmetto app, and use promo code DBLK15 for 15% off a one-time purchase at Palmetto Superfoods. Now get yourself an acai bowl. Are you ready? This is what it looks like. It is absolutely delicious. Charles wanted to get one of these over to you. He's got to open up his Walnut Creek store before that's easy to do, Larry, but Palmetto Superfoods is growing around the entire Bay Area. If you like something healthy, delicious, refreshing, great way to start your day, great way to end your night. It's like breakfast, it's like dessert, and you're surrounded by hot women in yoga pants. I mean, you can't go wrong at Palmetto Superfoods. Try the acai bowl. I like the coconut. I love the dragon fruit. This is the acai part of it all. A lot of good, crunchy, healthy granola, blueberry, strawberry, banana, no nonsense sugar sweetening of this. It's au natural. It's actually vegan. Larry, we are advertising something that is vegan. I can't believe it.
Well, and let's go further than that. Damon and Larry, we are changing your life because you get in line at a Palmetto Superfoods. You're not only going to have something delicious and healthy, you're going to meet your future wife. There are going to be Palmetto super couples coming out of this show. I guarantee you, there are going to be Palmetto super babies someday that are going to be born because of this show and this promo code that will literally have this promo code stamped to their forehead. DBLK15, 15% off. I can already hear it now. I was walking endlessly and aimlessly through life, and then I suddenly fell into Damon and Larry in the Palmetto Superfoods 49er Wake Up, and then I went and tried it, and she was there, and I met my wife, and now together we take our child to Palmetto Superfoods and have acai bowls every Saturday, and my life has changed. I got a new job. I'm now living in Pacific Heights.
Right. We have 2 kids. We have 2 children. My son's name's Damon. My daughter's name is Larry. We named them both after you. You guys have changed our lives forever. So
wait a second. Yeah. Wait a second. Oh, wait. Oh, I had it up there. Hold on a second. Put that away for just a second. We went home. Oh, where is it? Oh, it was one in here. There was a Damon Bruce.
What happened to our frame? What happened? What happened to our frame?
I'll get.
Oh, is this? We have a. Do we have a visual gag coming up here?
Oh no, yeah, we have a
visual gag.
Here is it.
This is high production. This is high production value, everyone.
Kyle
Shanahan's going to watch this game footage, and he's going to.
Somebody dropped an old. There was the oi oi oi.
Oh well, we got those over here.
Oi oi oi. Yeah, but somebody had a pound it in here. I was gonna put up there.
Oh, well,
Here we go. Look at this, Steve P.
Pound it.
No, we got it. We got all the old tricks over here, Larry.
My life was poundless until I went to Palmetto Superfoods, got an acai bowl, met my wife, and once again, Damon went home.
Pound it.
What was that from, by the way?
Annie Baby. This woman who used to call in a sports phone, call me late at night. You could hear the ice cubes clinking in her cocktail. You could hear her pulling off, a filter-free Pall Mall. Just got Damon. I want to talk about the Giants and Jack Tashner. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, these were good times. They really, really were. If you are a 49er fan, you are having a great time. I feel like it's part of our duty, Larry, to sometimes pull back the reins of enthusiasm. Whoa there, slow down just a little bit. Not
pump the brakes.
Yeah. There's really no reason to pump any brakes at all about this 49ers team and what is continuing the theme that is just the most important theme of the year here, Larry. They played another game. They're through 5 weeks of football. Not a bump, not a bruise. I mean, I'm sure guys are going to be a nice tub today. That's what happens after every football game. No major injuries, Larry. Nothing to talk about. No time away from the team recovering for anyone so far. And I wonder how many teams in football are injury-free through 5 weeks. Because the Niners are essentially living that existence right now.
No doubt. And more than anything, they're at a point now where I think, they're firmly inside their Super Bowl window. You just mentioned they're adding Randy Gregory, but Randy Gregory will be added, but the Niners still have $41 million of cap room and a bevy of draft choices. Now it's about targeting the one player that gets you over the top. If you're John Lynch, the one thing about this, like nobody ever, you notice when the Niners talk about their Super Bowls, Damon, nobody ever says, yeah, but that team in 94 was unfair. They had Dion and they had Dent and they had Ricky Jackson and they had a Plummer and Norton. No, they just say it's a Super Bowl. Do you think anybody walks around saying, yeah, the Warriors with KD, but that was unfair? No, nobody cares.
Well, actually, that was like the first time in sports history where this is unfair, don't allow it really did come into play in a national conversation. It was weird, but I understand exactly what you're saying. I do. I really do.
Nobody's going to remember down the road if you load it up. They're only going to remember if you fall short. So if you're John Lynch, you still got $41 million. You still have a whole slew of draft choices. Denver, according to Adam Schefter, is willing to move every and any defensive player to reset their deal next year. Patrick Surtain, go get him. Go get a true number one corner. Look at the teams you're going against at the next level. Kansas City, I think, is likely to add a wide receiver. Eagles have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Miami have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and they just added Chase Claypool, and he'll probably play better there. Buffalo's probably going to wind up adding a receiver, maybe a Mike Evans, to go with Stephon Diggs, to go with Gabe Davis, to go.
By the way, you can take your Jonathan Taylor cocaine-fueled pipe dream off the table. He's not coming.
Well, that's great news, because my whole thought on Jonathan Taylor wasn't really get him for the Niners. It was get him to keep him away from Miami, right, Dallas, Philly, Kansas City. So now that he re-signed in Indy, all the better. But I'm just saying, if you're John Lynch, if you're looking up, today is the 9th of October. On the 31st of October, in the middle of the day, is the NFL trade deadline. Now start dreaming the dream. What is out there? Who is out there that gets you over the top? You're not going to probably be able to acquire a tackle. The Niner offensive line played really, really well against a phenomenal front last night. So maybe the need is not even at tackle.
Yeah, I don't even know how much you need it, Larry. I mean, McKivitz is absolutely holding his own. He is a lateral move, if not an upgrade from McGlinchey. It's like McGlinchey's there.
Maybe it's another.
McGlinchey wasn't nearly as bad as everyone tried to make him out to be.
Right. And this guy's McKivitz is a really trusted guy in the room. They believe in McKivitz. And I don't know that you can upgrade tackle. But like Randy Gregory's great. But if you can get one more edge rusher, maybe you do it. Watching Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, if you could get one more really hard hitter on your defense anywhere, maybe you do it. If you can get a shutdown corner, maybe you do it. I'll give you another one. If you could get Kyle Pitts out of Atlanta, and you could get another weapon that adds to this offense, maybe you do it. There's nothing that says that you have to win the Super Bowl by the skin of your teeth. It's okay to blow people out and when the Niners got their last ring, what was the final in the Super Bowl? It was like 49-26 or something like that. What was the last two Super Bowls that the Niners have won have been massive one-sided blowouts where they were the best team at the anthem. There ain't nothing wrong with that. And if I was them, they're in that neighborhood now. Lynch knows it. Kyle knows it. The players know it. If you
it's
said to
harder.
me, I'd say it's one more corner. If you could add one more dominant corner, I think you could sit there and be like, good night. Nobody's touching this team. And if I were them, I would
you're ready
do
to
it.
record the Super Bowl shuffle in November. They add one more corner.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. You know, I was saying how they were injury free. It did slip my mind that Aaron Banks did go down. Did he return to that game? Did you see him around the locker room? Do you have any information on Aaron Banks for us, Larry?
No, other than I thought it was a concussion, but it wasn't a concussion. It was something else. I'll have to look it up. But Feliciano finished the game.
Okay.
They took Aaron's helmet away from him, so I'm not sure exactly what the injury is. Let me see if I can find it.
I mean, it was also a point in the game where you can make that choice a lot easier because the game was in hand. So
yeah, and he's playing at a really, really high level.
He's been fantastic. He's been fantastic. So hopefully everything is okay with Aaron Banks. And then, as I was saying, my proclamation of overall team health will be all right. But that was an overwhelming, decisive 4 quarters of football. And that's the thing. You know, this is why the reason why the NFL should be a little scary this morning.
It's a bicep. It's a bicep injury.
Okay.
So Nick Wagner from ESPN, good guy, covers the Niners, said the 49ers didn't have a diagnosis on the extent of Aaron Banks' bicep injury, but Kyle Shanahan said they were fortunate that the injury was up higher in the bicep, as the lower can sometimes be a season ending. So they don't think it was a bicep tear. It was more of a bicep strain. But yeah, there you go.
Okay, good. Hopefully it's just the kind of thing with, you know, if he needs a week off, give him what he needs. Feliciano is a fine backup guard for a week or two. He is. I like Feliciano in a backup role, but Aaron Banks has really proven himself. Again, they need to apply some patience to some of these players to develop, especially on the big boy beefy lines that you have. Not everyone.
Look at this. Look at this.
Go ahead.
Look at this. Look at this by Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
Well, they did throw a
shot.
Well, they did throw a Well, they did throw a
Here's the thing, Larry.
That basically is that if you didn't see Niners Cowboys and you just went, hey, how did Niners Cowboys go last night?
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it went.
And you know what, Larry, I don't mind nasty offensive linemen. I don't. I as a matter of fact, I prefer them in that flavor. So the fact that the 49ers are 5-0 and we've seen at least 2 offensive linemen throw open-handed or closed fist punches to their opponent, and neither has drawn a penalty so far this year. So keep it up, boys. It very, very impressive. Very impressive. We don't know if it's a torn bicep, so everyone can stop typing torn bicep into the chat. We don't know that. So we'll find out. But this is a phenomenal start. And look, Larry, as I told you last night when I came on your post-game show, I'm not here to take shots at anyone who has taken a position on Brock Purdy that Brock Purdy is proving not just wrong, but completely untethered to the reality that you were trying to present. I will say this, though. It takes no talent at all to doubt Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, everything we knew about the guy coming into this league officially gives you the green light to doubt him. How many Iowa State quarterbacks selected last in the draft have ever gone on to make a practice squad, much less turn into a guy who can lead you to a Super Bowl? It's easy. You are correctly set up to doubt Brock Purdy. It's the right investment to make at the beginning of his career. But at some point, you got to admit that all the questions you say every quarterback needs to answer before you can start trusting them, this guy is answering those list of questions, and he's doing it in overwhelming, wildly accurate fashion. So what you thought of Purdy, what you were right to be suspicious of, has been so turned upside down and on its head that we now need to not discuss Brock Purdy in the terms of, isn't this a good story? Brock Purdy's on his way to joining the 10 best quarterbacks in this league conversation. which is pretty good considering that podcaster for The Ringer had him 26th best quarterback in football the other week or whatever that was.
I love that guy's line. This guy Ruiz comes out and is like, and if I'm wrong, I'll quit covering football. It sounds like you already have, bro.
Yeah.
Let me throw the Brock Purdy from this. Look at this Brock Purdy highlight here.
Just whatever.
This is an unbelievable. Look at this play from Purdy.
I think this play and plays really kind of sum up Purdy.
Matt Nahagian with the play-by-play on Sunday Night Football.
This game
Yes.
going forward, 3rd and 4, just a perfect pass to Ayuk for 40
And here's
yards.
Larry. Here's what I love about that pass. That pass never happened. That pass was a holding call that was pulled back. So that 41-yard gain from Ayuk is erased because of a Spencer.
Who is this guy? What's going on here? I mean, it was an amazing. The guy's putting on a clinic right now. He really is. He's putting on a clinic.
It's the highest passer rating through 10 games in the history of the NFL. There you go.
Well,
He's got a
go beyond this, Damon.
passer rating.
Joe Montana started 2-6. Steve Young was not good in his 20s. Really wasn't good until he was 30. This guy stepped off the bench in December, losing to the Dolphins, and has not looked back. He has not had the dog meat game. They're scoring under Brock Purdy. They're scoring over 30 a game. They're undefeated outside of the Philly game where he got knocked out. And how important is Brock Purdy? As soon as he got knocked out, they were cooked in that Philly game. They couldn't even get a snap go. They couldn't even get a play call. They started wasting timeouts. They couldn't get a snap, done. I mean, it was amazing. The guy is on another level. And it's like, I don't think I'm the best personnel guy ever, but man, the first time I saw this guy in camp, I thought, what?
Well, I remember you calling me, and it was, we had other hosts around the Bay Area walking out of, I don't know, maybe the first training camp that they'd ever been to, going like, oh my God, Trey Lance is the future. Oh, but you've never seen anything. And I talked to you on that day, and you're like, dude, this Brock Purdy guy's pretty good. You're like, I'm excited about Brock. And then you heard Kyle start saying things like, I'm more excited about Brock Purdy than I've ever been about a third string guy in my career. Like Shanahan would say that. And
I'll tell you where my revelation came. Because I really believed going into minicamp that they had somebody special. Then in minicamp, he's dominating every drill, looks just absolutely perfect. Looks like, you know what it looked like? It looked like everybody's taking a class, and then this is like some grad student who's there, who's like already taken the class 3 times and is just there kind of, so he does literally everything right. That's what it looked like watching Brock Purdy in minicamp. Then he carries it over to training camp. But I'm still like, okay, I'm going to wait till I see the first preseason game. First preseason game, this guy's working the play clock to 1 in the 4th quarter, showing a level of awareness that rookie quarterbacks playing in their first preseason game never show. And I went up to Tim Ryan afterwards, like a day or 2 later, and I'm like, dude, Brock Purdy. And he's like, did you see that? And we both knew exactly what the other was talking about. And we were both talking about how he worked the play clock down to nothing. And he's like, we started talking about it. At that point, I was like, oh man, this guy is really something. Then he sits, does not play. He played in August, didn't play in September or October or November. Now it's the 2nd week in December. This guy has not played in 3.5 months. They're losing to the Dolphins. He comes off the bench. The Dolphins brought the house, man. It was like Van Ginkel and all these guys. It was just like absolute jailbreak on the quarterback. And he's throwing blind look passes in the middle of the field to George Kittle and completing them. And the Niners won by like 23, and they haven't looked back since. And it's like the fact that here we are, it's a year plus later almost, or since I saw him, that there are still people like, I don't know. Yeah, that is nothing's truer has ever been stated. You're right. You don't know. Because if you don't know now, you're never going to know. I mean, seriously, this guy is legit. I had people on my streams in the last week saying that he wasn't as good as Dak, that he wasn't as good as Ryan Tannehill. That, I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, you're losing your football credibility card if you're saying that this guy's not any good.
I think the problem, Larry, is we have so many people in the conversation who never had that card to begin with. You can't lose something you never had. So it's good to have you here on 49ers Wake Up. Here is my football credibility card. It looks like an acai bowl from Palmetto Superfoods. Larry's got the same card in his back pocket. We'll tell you more about that with the promo code DBLK15. Scan that puppy and use that promo code for 15% off Palmetto Superfoods. Welcome to 49ers Wake Up. Again, bona fides. We got them over here. We've been covering this league for the better part of, Larry, we got nearly 40 combined years covering the 49ers together. So we've seen a lot. And we've seen a lot of bad to know the difference between good and bad. You've had people starting to cover this team during the run that is now the tied for the longest winning streak in franchise history, and all they were was filled with anxiety and panic during this entire run. Like, you don't know what you're doing because you've never been here before. So it's good to have you here with us. Thank you for choosing us. More people continue to choose Damon and Larry for their day after 49er programming than any other duo in the Bay Area, radio, YouTube, otherwise. It's great to have you here. It really is. How about this for a duo of stats? Again, through the first 10 starts of a career, Brock Purdy's got the highest passer rating in NFL history. He's got the second best completion percentage through 10 games in NFL history. Now, the other two guys in terms of completion percentage are Chad Pennington, who was good. Chad Pennington was a good quarterback. And Mac
He was good coming out of Marshall. He got hurt.
And Mac Jones, who is playing himself out of the NFL right now with the New England Patriots. So
they went 1 for 14, Mac Jones did yesterday on third down. 1 for 14.
In terms of passer rating, the company that he keeps, the guys that are just behind him, are Rob Johnson, who was getting spot starts in between two teams. So it's not like Rob Johnson got 10 starts in a row. Rob Johnson with Buffalo and Jacksonville started with that kind of a passer rating. The other guy is Patrick Mahomes. So, Brock Purdy is doing things that are very, very special. In 10 career starts, he is 183 for 260 passing, for 2,369 yards with 20 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. None of those 4 interceptions thrown this season, by the way. He is interceptionless. Again, we're not going to go back to who counted training camp interceptions out loud like they were on Sesame Street. 1 interception, 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. But that was done. And look at where we are.
It's an amazing thing, Damon. And I had a list of I had Brock Purdy listed as the 8th best quarterback in football, behind only Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and that's it. And now I don't know that if they traded Brock Purdy right now for Justin Herbert, I don't know that I'm doing cartwheels over that. I love Trevor Lawrence's talent, but I don't know that I'm doing cartwheels if all of a sudden he's here instead. I love Joe Burrow, but I don't know. I don't know. If the Niners traded Brock Purdy tomorrow for Jalen Hurts, would it be universal that they are better? I don't know. I don't know about that.
You can't get better than unbeaten, and both those guys are right now. But
Mahomes and Josh Allen, I think
Jalen Hurts is a monster. He is. Philadelphia is a monster. But
who would you rather have?
How about this?
Would you rather have Brock than Lamar? Would you rather have Lamar than Brock?
In Kyle Shanahan's offense, I'd rather have Brock Purdy. I'd rather have Brock Purdy than the other guys whose talent might take them off schedule. Brock remains on schedule. One of the most interesting things that I've seen this past week, Larry, remember the name Trent Benkert?
Kurt Benkert.
Kurt Benkert. So you more than remember the name. You got it right. I got it wrong.
Yeah. No, he was an Illinois quarterback who was on the Niner practice squad last year.
He started one game for the Green Bay Packers. He kicked around a few other practice squads. He is now basically out of football. He's a normal guy who was closer to an NFL career than most normal guys are allowed to get. He broke down Brock Purdy and basically said, we are looking at a person who is the human representation of a footwork clinic. Like Brock Purdy puts on a footwork clinic out there, and just from his feet up, he did a 5-minute breakdown of Brock Purdy, didn't talk about his arm not once, just was look at the feet, look at the way he controls his feet. And Kurt Benkert is the kind of guy who has been harder coached than someone like Trevor Lawrence or Patrick Mahomes, who has just so much raw God-given ability that concentrating on their fundamentals was never the key to unlocking their potential. The key to unlocking potential in Brock Purdy is the controllables, those fundamentals that you just stay grounded in. And Purdy is a clinic of football fundamentals from the position of quarterback. And if that means he's a system quarterback, that's cool. Larry, you know what you and I are? We're system broadcasters. We're system broadcasters.
Right.
Whatever system we're in, we try to fit that system. I do things a little differently here on YouTube than I did on radio, but this is the system that I'm in now. So I'm trying to run the system as effectively as I can. Why is that counted as a demerit? I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand why a guy fitting a team perfectly is seen through the prism of a negativity. I don't get it. There's a lot of shit about modern media I don't get. There's a lot of things about modern media that I don't like. You want to tell me what here is the biggest schmuck parade in the world, and this is why sports media is dying and why guys like you and I on YouTube, we might be lesser known than Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, but what we say is so much more valuable than those fucking posers, because today, the number one topic on Undisputed is watch Richard Sherman dominate Skip Bayless, who was wrong about the Cowboys. The number one topic on First Take today.
Wow.
Watch how Stephen A. Smith wears a cowboy hat and cackles because the Cowboys lose again. The point isn't about how these douchebags are reacting to this game. The point is the game. You should be reacting to what the 49ers did to the Cowboys, not how a host reacts to it. Oh, watch Skip be wrong.
Well, and their premise is wrong. If your premise is wrong, by definition, your conclusion is wrong. Dallas did not lose the game last night. The 49ers won it. Dak did not gack away the game. Brock Purdy took it. Here's one. This is what you're going to hear. San Bruno Mike, nothing against San Bruno Mike, but he says Brock Purdy's operating with a cheat code because he is a Super Bowl ready team by the time he's ready to take the helm. No other Hall of Fame quarterback had that advantage. Okay, but they've done nothing but win games.
Right. I'll agree with San Bruno Mike there. This is a unique situation to be dropped into. It really is.
But let's just say it loudly for the people in the back. When Brock Purdy took over the starting quarterback job from Jimmy Garoppolo, all other quarterbacks other than Garoppolo under Kyle Shanahan, with the largely a championship worthy club, were 9-29. 9-29 is what Jimmy Garoppolo quarterbacks were under Kyle Shanahan until Brock Purdy hit the scene. 9-29. So don't tell me that anybody could do this. Don't tell me that he's just a product of this system. Don't tell me that, if they throw Sam Darnold out there, Sam Darnold will be doing just as well. No. And no. This
if
guy,
anybody could do this, Trey Lance would have done it.
right? This guy, the ball comes out on time. Now, the one thing about Brock that is spectacular is that all of the traits that you can't see are all, he's at the top of the scale, the absolute top of the scale. You can't see heart. Guy's got tremendous heart. You can't see competitiveness. Guy's got tremendous competitiveness. You can't really see intelligence. The guy between the ears is really, really smart. There was a thing about Joe Montana the other day where Montana was talking about how Walsh had formations for all these different plays, and there were like 3 reads off every formation, and he might have like 5 formations for the same play, and that he would get the play and then the formation like right at the same time, and he would have to figure out his 3 reads for each play. I mean, the memorization and the number of variables that Joe had to crunch. Joe went to Notre Dame. Joe was smart as hell. He might not have been book smart, but he was football savant genius smart. And that's where Brock Purdy is. Brock Purdy is incredibly smart, incredibly competitive, has incredible heart and fire, and so you can't see any of those traits.
And the thing is, the seeable
so people
traits,
missed on those.
The seeable traits, Larry, the things that we do see are so overvalued over the unseeable traits that a guy like Brock Purdy is then put in a situation because he isn't this physical raw specimen that he gets coached a little harder. He studies a little harder. He went to a school that had less talent around him than other schools provide their quarterbacks, and he made the Iowa State Cyclones sing. They haven't sung since he left. Same system,
right?
Different people.
They went 1-8 in conference the year after he was there.
And they said, well, maybe Brock's best year was that sophomore year in college, and he came back for a junior year that was a little lesser of, and then he played well in his senior year, but didn't have the explosive numbers. That's Iowa State letting him down around. He did everything he could to make them great. They did everything they could to hold him back, just based on who they are in the Big 12. But quarterbacks who are developed in that crucible know more than guys who were at Everything Comes Easy University. And that's why you're looking at, Brock Purdy take to the NFL almost easier and acclimate faster than Justin Fields. I will say C.J. Stroud's pretty damn impressive coming out of in his rookie year.
Very impressive. Very impressive. But I mean, to me, there's a lot of Steph Curry here. Steph Curry was a great player at Davidson. They went to the tournament. They won games in the tournament. Everybody knew that Steph was a great shooter, but they didn't know that he had that kind of toughness.
Right.
They didn't know he didn't have that kind of competitive fire. They didn't know he had that kind of work ethic. They didn't know he had that kind of heart. They didn't know how he was wired. They didn't realize who Steph Curry truly was. And now we know. And now it's like you look at him and you don't think, oh, well, he's just a smiley face guy, medium height, medium athleticism. No, he's Steph Curry. He's a superstar. And all I got to say is if Brock Purdy is going to fall back, wouldn't it have already happened by now? If he really was going to fall on his face, I'm not saying that he's going to be the one quarterback.
How about this? Forget about
I'm not saying he's going undefeated. He's going to lose a game. Maybe he'll be next week against the Browns, and maybe he'll throw some picks. But I'm just saying, if he was going to be this, like, you know what, this guy ain't the guy, don't you think we would know by now?
The Dallas Cowboys came into that game last night with the #1 rated defense in football. If there was a defense that was just on paper going to trip Brock up, it was going to be last night's. Look at what he did. Has a #1 defense in football coming into a game ever laid down to die quite like that? You don't do that against good defenses. You don't make it look as easy as the 49ers did. And again, the Niners did more to keep their own score down early in that game than the Dallas Cowboys did with a couple of stalled drives. So it was wildly impressive last night. The recipe that Kyle wants out of his quarterback is being cooked up game by game by Brock Purdy. And I'll tell you, maybe more than any other coach in football, Larry, Kyle is attacking the middle of the field. And that's what he wants. That's what he wants. That's where his offense pops. It pops in the middle of the field. Purdy does an incredible job executing in the middle of the field, the crossers, the seams, and he does have the arm talent to get it up the sidelines when he needs to. But he is so good in that mid-range, middle of the field, and that's where Kyle gets guys running wide open off of rub plays. That's where Brandon Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle are at their most dangerous. So he feels like he's been built to run the system that Kyle wants. And getting back to your original question, would you trade Brock Purdy for Jalen Hurts? Not for this system. I wouldn't. Another team, maybe. But this system, I really do think Kyle has found the chef who knows how to cook on his stovetop just the way Kyle wants him to cook. So
the same way Andy Reid found Mahomes, and suddenly people forget Andy Reid. Nobody remembers these things. Andy Reid was chased out of Philadelphia despite a well above 500 record and nothing but success. And he was chased out of Philadelphia. Why? Because he couldn't win the big one. Wound up in Kansas City, found Mahomes, now has two, and probably will get a third at some point. Kyle Shanahan finally has his guy. I would encourage everybody. JT O'Sullivan was a marginal NFL quarterback. Played at UC Davis. Marginal NFL
really good
quarterback.
Content creator, though.
Maybe even not marginal. That might be doing marginal a disrespect because he was not very good in the NFL. But his quarterback school evaluation was enthralling. I watched it last week on Brock Purdy. Some of the adjectives that he used to describe Brock Purdy: efficient, surgical, precise, aggressive, athletic, making full field reads, excellent accuracy, great precision and timing, and then throws with anticipation. You know, he took some left-handed drops where he dropped back to pass. He looked like Steve Young and then flipped the hips and confused everybody. All of a sudden, here's the ball coming out 30 yards down the field to Brock Purdy or to Brandon Ayuk. Dan Orlovsky, who's one of the few guys at ESPN that I actually kind of do like a little bit, Orlovsky in the lead up to this Niner Cowboy game showed how Shanahan so expertly stretches you vertically and horizontally by his play calls and the pressure that he puts on you. So now you got a quarterback with a great play caller with a bevy of top-tier weapons. The other thing that really stood out this summer that has nothing to do with Brock Purdy is that Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk all showed up this summer looking like they were just hell-bent on having their career year. They're all in the greatest shape of their career. Those three guys. And those three guys, with Purdy pulling the strings and Kyle calling the plays, are making the 49ers what they are right now offensively. Ayuk's having a career year. Every ball that was thrown to him this summer, he caught. Every ball. Debo's in the best shape of his life. CMC in the minicamp, Damon, looked like Jerry Rice as far as he was playing at a different speed than everybody else and just daring the entire team to match his intensity and his effort. So those three weapons are taking it to another level. And then the personnel department discovered a Ronnie Bell, and there's Braden Willis that nobody's talking about yet. They will. There's George Kittle. There's Juszczyk. And then there's a whole defense that added Javon Hargrave. So, I mean, it's not all Purdy. I think I'll gladly say that, and I would freely admit that. But what really is all Purdy is the key components of Kyle's game are bootleg, shotgun, or bootleg, play action, and the quick game. And nobody, and I'm talking about nobody in the league, can get the ball out quickly, accurately, on time, and neutralize a dangerous rush like Brock Purdy can right now. His footwork on the short game, on the bootleg game, on the play action game from under center is flawless. And this is an area where one false step changes everything about the play. He doesn't make that false step. His footwork is spectacular.
The Cowboys had given up 41 points in their first 4 games. They allow 42 to the 49ers last night. Welcome if you're just joining us here on 49ers Wake Up. It's Damon, Bruce, Larry Krueger. Good morning to you and yours. If you're a 49er fan, the sun is out, shining, the birds are chirping, and you are watching 49ers Wake Up, brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods. Get yourself an absolutely delicious and good for you acai bowl. Use promo code DBLK15, Damon, Bruce, Larry Krueger 15 for 15% off this delicious, sexy looking beast right here. The behemoth. I mean, this is just a monster from Palmetto Superfoods. That's my favorite layer right there, Larry, the dragon fruit. I love the dragon fruit. They got
they've always said that about you.
There's a guy who likes dragon fruit, they say, as Damon
there goes that
down
dragon fruit loving Damon Bruce.
That SOB. Acai on the top. All kinds of just delicious, crunchy granola. You got strawberries. You got blueberries. I'll tip it a little bit over. But, I mean, awesome. It's just absolutely delicious. It's healthy. It's good for you, and you will like it. Try it once, and you'll be sold.
That's all you got to do. We're not asking you to sign a 5-year deal.
Right.
Just go into a Palmetto Superfoods and order an acai bowl. The basic one that we got last week is a great starter, but eventually it's fully and totally customizable. And just come back and tell us what you think. Tell us what you think.
Start with the Bay. That's the entry point. And there are locations all around the Bay Area. There are more locations coming. So all the location needs are going across the bottom scroll here. And welcome again. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining us. I just got a text, Larry, from a guy that you know. His name is Kevin Krueger, giving us a little market report. We are matching 95.7 The Game in viewers right now, but actually exceeding them if you add our simulcast. We're dwarfing our former friends at KNBR. We're dwarfing a couple of other pretty well-respected and liked content creators around here. We're not trying to dunk on anybody, but the legend of Damon and Larry and the 49ers Wake Up and the acai bowl continues to grow. A monster attention-getting performance from the 49ers, giving us a little attention, and we certainly appreciate it. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Please hit notify. Larry, I think that my subscribers and your subscribers, from my standpoint and your standpoint, it's almost the Venn diagram's almost a perfect circle. Like if you're following Damon Bruce, you're probably already subscribed to Larry Krueger. Now, if you are subscribed to just Larry and not me, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be continuing today at 11 a.m. with my own show. Nice. It won't be a long one because we're kind of giving it all to you right here, right now. But if I could make that the largest Damon Bruce show that we've had at 11 a.m., I would certainly appreciate a whole bunch of Krueger's crew joining me over there at 11 a.m. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Thank you very much. Larry, congratulations to you. Over how many thousands of followers did you go over last night? You hit a milestone, baby. Look at that. 25,000 followers for my man Krug. And he
25,000 last night. Now we're at 25,125. So we picked up 125 people in the last 10 hours. But yes, I mean, we've had 1.5 million views of the Krug show content, and just thank you to every single one of you. Damon and I will be here after every 49er game. They're going to play on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, before you decide to sleep in line to get $79 off a flat screen. You put it on this show because we'll be here on Black Friday to entertain you every morning after 49er football. Damon and I will be chopping it up on 49er Wake Up, brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods, and we thanks to Charles, our hero from Palmetto Superfoods, who's probably the next billionaire tycoon in the Bay Area. But yeah, no, really, really proud of what we've been able to accomplish over here. And let's hit some supers because we got a bunch of people who are donating money as well. David Montez says, "Good morning, fellas. Thank you for this show. Thank you, David,
for watching, David. It's great to have you."
Fish and Chips says Kyle is very relaxed. It's a game changer.
Did you see the smile NBC caught out of him last night? When Kyle Shanahan's smiling, the NFL should piss down its leg a little bit.
Grateful Red 72. You both belong in a sports hall of fame. There you go. Thank you about that. We got this one from Lyle Bolyard. He says, after this game, do you think the Niners will trade before the deadline, and what position? I do, and I think it'll be either another edge rusher or maybe even a corner. That would be my guess. I definitely think they'll make a trade before the end of the month. For Life Niners says, how about them? How about them Dallas Cowboys? You got a how about them Cowboys in there?
No, they didn't earn one last night. They don't get one.
Sven says, use that $41 million and get Pat Surtain. Yes. Oh, my goodness. How great would that be? Gizmo Maltese, is this the 49ers' best offense since 1994?
It's better than that offense. If you want to be totally honest, it's better than that offense. It's averaging more points. It's averaging more points, Larry.
Oh, my God. Steve Young, Ricky Waters, bar none, John Taylor, Jerry Rice, Brent Jones.
This offense can't match the star power of that offense. It can't match your warm and fuzzy memories of the single greatest era of Niner football of all time.
It's in that category.
It's won the exact same amount of games all those guys ever won together. It's a 15-game regular season winning streak. If Kyle beats Cleveland next week, he will have an undefeated season wrapped around 2 seasons. 16 in a row used to be an undefeated season in this league. The Niners have never had a 16-game winning streak in the history of their franchise.
It's amazing. It absolutely is amazing.
And they'll have one if they beat Cleveland next week.
Chris Medina, other than Philly, do you see any more potential losses on the Niners' schedule? Yeah, I do.
Cleveland. Cleveland could be a potential loss, Larry.
Cleveland. Absolutely. I'll say Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to be a very difficult game to win. Why? Because look at the schedule. The Niners play, Damon, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but I believe the Niners play on Monday night the prior week. So you'll have 49ers on a short week traveling back home, and you'll have the Bengals on a 13-day rest because they'll be coming off of their bye. So that Bengal game is going to be very, very difficult to win.
Let me draft the 3 hardest games remaining on the 49ers schedule. The number one overall pick. The number one overall pick of that draft is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You could say Baltimore, but I'm going to say the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are really good, Larry. They're not a bad football team, and Sean McVay is maybe having his best season as a head coach right now.
Puka Nacua to you.
Oh, a Tutu Atwell. Thank you. It's this Cleveland game coming up is a sneaky red alert game. It really is. It's a
Myles
sneaky
Garrett.
red alert game. At Minnesota is your Monday nighter, and then, like you said, Cincinnati. I was going to put Jacksonville into this draft, but that's the Niners coming out of a bye week. If the Niners weren't coming out of a bye week going to Jacksonville, I would have penciled that in for you got to get a couple L's on this schedule or you just look like a clownish fanboy.
Well, I mean, look at Jacksonville too. I mean, Travis Etienne had 136 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Monster game.
Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Evan Engram has found himself there. They got all kinds of defensive talent. I mean,
their Josh Allen is something else defensively.
Yeah,
we had Josh Allen on Josh Allen crimes yesterday in London.
Well, that was really interesting. So that's exactly the point. Who's better, Buffalo or Jacksonville? Buffalo. But Jacksonville had played in London, stayed in London the whole week. Buffalo flied in Friday morning and tried to make the adjustment, and they had nothing.
ATN even said that the week in London did their bodies right. They lose game 1, they win game 2.
Right, and Buffalo came out, and by the way, some of these other contenders, Buffalo only ran 2.1 per carry. Josh Allen was their leading rusher. James Cook was. Let me flip that back. James Cook was 5 carries for -4 yards. So I'm just saying, some of these teams, the schedule setup and how it's. You look at all these games like, hey, any given Sunday, anything can happen. Well, there's all kinds of inconsistencies that lead to that. Who'd you play the week before? How much rest did you get? How much rest did your opponent get? So I think that Cincinnati game is absolutely going to be a very, very tough game to win. I think this Browns game is a natural letdown, right? You just played the Cowboys on national TV, and now you get a Cleveland Brown team in their place that's very strong on the line of scrimmage, that has a game wrecker in Myles Garrett, a really, really strong defense. Denzel Ward's a true number one corner. That's going to be a really tough game. The Bengals game is going to be a tough game.
At Seattle on Thanksgiving, Larry.
At Seattle on Thanksgiving.
Game. That place is going to be unhinged.
Right.
And the Seahawks are better than we thought that they would be.
And then but this one, Damon,
is better than we thought they would be.
It's a Eagles Seahawks Oreo, because it goes Seahawks, Eagles, and then Seahawks again. You know how difficult it is to beat a team twice in 3 weeks?
Very hard.
That is very hard to do.
Especially a division. Well, I guess that's the only opponent you'd see twice in 3 weeks. So
there's going to be a loss. There's going to be a loss in this season. I would be shocked, absolutely and utterly shocked, if they ran the table, despite how good they look right now, despite the fact that they're putting up 30 a game and giving up under 20 a game most of the time. They should win every game by 10 on paper, but they won't. They'll lose a game somewhere here.
So that's the way it looks for the Niners. The last 49er team to win 15 in a row started in a season that went 14-2 and ended in a season that went 14-2. The first 2 years of Seifert are the winning streak that this team has matched. You look at what the Cowboys got coming up in front of them, Larry. Don't be surprised at all to watch the Dallas Cowboys fade, okay? It's going to come, because they're at the Chargers, home to the Rams, at Philadelphia. Those are the next 3 games.
They can go for 3.
They'll be lucky to go in those next 3 games. Based on what I saw last night, they'd be lucky to go 1-2 in the next 3 games. If you sold them 1-2 right now, they might think of buying it, because 2-1 sounds a little impractical based on what we saw last night.
Look at December. Look at late November and December for Dallas.
It's a little tough over the next handful of games, and then it turns into a murderer's row where they're Seattle, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, Washington to end the year. By the way, Detroit. Larry, the Detroit Lions are the 3rd best team in the NFC right now, hands down, and leave it to Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions.
Come on, D's nuts.
That's right. That's our guy.
Doesn't matter if you have 1 ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Dan Campbell.
That is maybe the greatest. Can you play that one more time?
Doesn't matter if you have 1 ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
That's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt right
absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. If I hosted a show in Detroit,
doesn't matter if you have 1 ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
I will
beat your ass.
I would call it the 3-toe show if I had a show in Detroit right now.
That used to be on the 95.7 The Game board. That was your board, huh?
That was my board. It's amazing how all of my ideas are being pinched and used by everyone in radio in this town. 2 stations, all day parts. But I digress. Larry.
No, they're real, though. Jared Goff in this last game against Carolina, 20 of 28, 3 touchdowns. They got multiple backs, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end, had two touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams is their home run hitter, and they got a rugged defense, man, and they'll go after it. And they also picked up, from the Niners, didn't they take? Don't they have Emmanuel Mosley? And I think from Philly they wind up taking Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So I mean they've got, and they're both hurt right now, but I mean they've got some really, really good young players and some good veterans as well. Yeah, I like Detroit. I think Detroit, you're saying they're the 3rd best team in the conference? You think they're better than Dallas?
Yes.
I don't know about that. I would say it's Niners, Eagles, clear cut above everybody. And then I would go with Dallas, Detroit. Probably that's it. Maybe Rams if you like the Rams.
Right. Do you feel good about putting Tampa Bay into that conversation?
No,
and I don't either.
No.
But again, they're better than anyone thought that they would be. This is a difficult league to be consistently good in, which is why a 15-game winning streak, whether it be measured against the glory days of the Niners or not, is so impressive. Consistency is the hardest thing to sustain in this league. And I don't just mean consistency year over year. I'm talking about a 4-quarter game. As good as the Niners have been, last night was their first 4-quarter game where they beat the brakes off the Cowboys in each and every single quarter. They were dominant. Cowboys had as many passing yards as they did turnovers in the first quarter last night.
Wow.
So that's a really nice way to start a game. Dallas opened with 4 straight 3-and-outs. The 49ers had generated 9 first downs, had forced a fumble, had sacked Dak twice, and had scored 14 points, surviving their own goal line fumble before the Cowboys even earned a single first down last night. Cowboys were held under 100 yards in the first half. And that's the first time this season that they were held under 100 yards in any half. And then they come back to just go over about 100 yards in the second half. The Niners whooped their ass last night.
Not only did the Niners score 42, the Niners didn't have a single receiver with even 70 receiving yards. They spread it around. Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Jawan Jennings. I mean, they spread the ball around last night. Ayuk had the most targets with 7, but, I mean, they didn't have a 75-yard receiver, and they scored 42 points. They didn't have a 75-yard rusher. They scored 42 points. I mean, it wasn't like it was an all-timer from McCaffrey. He had 19 carries for 51 yards. He averaged 2.7 a carry.
Right. And
it wasn't a great vintage performance from CMC, and they still won by 32.
Right. And oh, by the way, when we're counting all the different streaks that you can enjoy right now, his consecutive games with a touchdown streak, you can keep that one going. I mean, there are so many streaks to appreciate and count right now. But before we
how about the Niner O-line, Damon, that was supposed to get their you-know-what handed to them?
Yeah.
They gave up a total of 1 sack and 2 hits on the quarterback. Was Micah Parsons on the field? Didn't see him. He got shut out.
There were 3 things that the 49ers needed to do to find a win last night, and they did all 3. They did all 3 in overwhelming fashion. They need to quiet CeeDee Lamb from having a big game, and Isaiah Oliver played really well. We need to get to him and Deommodore Lenoir and what they did against him in the slot. The biggest play that CeeDee Lamb made last night came against Mooney, who had a really good game himself. They needed to make sure Tony Pollard didn't go off. Tony Pollard never got right, not for a minute in that game. And they needed to make sure that Micah Parsons didn't have one of those you felt him all night long football games, and you could hardly see him last night. So the Niners had 3 main weapons to shut down, and they went about shutting those 3 weapons down, leaving Dak with very little resources around him to do anything with. So it was overwhelming. But where I want to go here and just spend a little bit of time, because I just don't think that we had spent enough time appreciating what we're seeing, is the evolution now of Brock Purdy. We've seen so little of Brock, it's hard to talk about his evolution. But the truth is, it would have been ridiculous to have assumed that his starting point of this year would have been much better than picked up where he had left off. He was denied an offseason of development because it was an offseason of surgical rehab, which is a totally different animal than how do I get better? How do I take the year that I had, package it into the offseason I need to get ready for the year that is coming? Brock hit a pause because of that elbow surgery in further development, and he's just trying to rehab. So starting this year, in the realm of looks like last year, would have been a really good starting point. But that's not what's happened.
He's way better.
This is a significant, it's not even a step forward, Larry. It's a leap forward. Brock Purdy has taken a leap in year 2 without a normal offseason in a way that's usually greater than a leap a player takes in year 3 or 4 in this league. So we're looking at just a smart guy who gets it, and just everything that Kyle Shanahan puts down, Brock Purdy's picking up. There's just no other way to say it. This is what happens when a coach meets the player who gets it. And that's why the Niners are so dangerous right now. All of this talent everywhere, and a facilitator who gets it all, gets it conceptually, gets it physically, and they're dangerous.
The one take that was the worst take of the offseason, and I saw it many, many, many nights in chats this offseason, is he's topped out. You know, the league will adjust to him. He's going to get worse next year. That was based in what? Other than, hey, man, I really want Trey Lance to be the guy, and I'm rooting hard, and I've got a YouTube channel. There was nothing logical about Brock Purdy, 23-year-old quarterback, would be worse in year 2 in Kyle Shanahan's system. Matt Ryan was good in year 1. In year 2 in this system, he won the MVP. You know, I mean, you get better in a complex system. I asked Brock what I thought was the ultimate question in May at the minicamp. I said, Brock, where are you today? Compare where you're at today within this system to where you were last year at this time. And he's like, oh, Krug, night and day. He's like, last year at this time, I was literally walking to the line of scrimmage, just trying to remember, be able to spit out the play and just try to remember what play it was. This year, I've operated the system over and over and over again. We've prepped for multiple playoff games. I know it like the back of my hand. I've committed it to memory. I know every play. I know every formation. You know, I know my knowledge base is night and day. And yet, even though he said that, nobody believed it. And now here we are, year 2. His quarterback rating in week 1 against the Steelers on the road, 111.3. Then against the Rams, 93.1. Then against the Giants, 111.3. Last week against Arizona, 134.6. Last night against Dallas, 144.4. He's completing 72% of his passes. He's got 9 touchdowns. He's yet to throw an interception. The team that he's quarterbacking is undefeated and is averaging close to 35 points a game.
I remember you trying to pivot off, because look, as I said earlier, it took no talent at all to underestimate Brock Purdy. You were right, and you were justified in looking at him, his starting point, and saying, well, this probably isn't going to work. But then some of the data that's being returned to you, you need to start factoring into your evaluation of the guy. And I remember one of your, I thought, really good offseason talking points was, well, let's take our eye off the ceiling and just look at the floor. And Brock Purdy's floor is probably higher than Trey Lance's ceiling, to be completely honest with you.
I mean, it's really not about Trey Lance. I was always uncomfortable talking about these guys in comparison because Trey Lance is Trey Lance. He is an enormous talent, great kid, hard worker with several of the traits that it takes to be a great quarterback. But he played 1 year of college football since high school, and his day's coming, man. But it ain't today, and it wasn't going to be by week 1.
Well,
and
look,
it's like it was so obvious that it wasn't going to be week 1. But it's coming. Let's not act like Trey Lance is some bum. He's not. Trey Lance is going to be I agree with Trent Williams, who doubled down this week and said that he thinks someday Trey's going to be very, very good. Trent is smart. Trent knows ball. I know ball. This Trey Lance is a franchise quarterback. He's just not a franchise quarterback today. He is going to make it, and he's going to be very good. I really firmly believe that. But this idea that he was more ready to play than Brock Purdy was asinine. It was crazy talk. And the people that couldn't see the different stages of development, I got to wonder. It's like, were you just hoping? Do you just kind of hope that the player that you're watching is going to be good? Because that sounds like what the plan was. We'll just hope that he'll be good. It's like he's going to be good, but it's going to take reps, lots of reps. What Brock does throwing with anticipation, Trey doesn't do virtually at all. But guess what? He eventually will, because this is not NASA. He's going to figure it out. There's limited factors. It's going to take some time. But 3 years from now, Trey Lance is going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I think everybody just needs to put their arms around that. You want to, understand that Brock's great. Understand that. But also understand that Trey has all of the traits to be great. He just needs the mental reps and the physical reps. Brock played all his freshman year at Iowa State. He played his sophomore year. This guy played, and he had 47 career starts. And then you're seeing the product of that experience right now. Trey's going to get there. It's just going to it's going to be 2025. It's going to be 2026. I mean, I absolutely am just very, very confident that Trey's going to be a very good quarterback. But it's just not going to be right now.
If you're just joining us, welcome. It's great to see you here on 49ers Wake Up, brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods. Delicious acai bowls just with your name on it. With our promo code, you get 15% off. DBLK15. Scan the QR code. If Larry puts it up, he will in just a moment. He's looking for it. I can feel it. This is an absolutely delicious, nutritious, great way to start your day, to end your night. Use this as your breakfast. Use this as your lunch. Mix in a healthy meal around all the crap that we eat. Make this your next healthy choice, and you will return. Not because it's a healthy choice, but because it's delicious, it's satisfying, it's filling. Go ahead, check out Palmetto Superfoods all around the Bay Area. That's the promo code. That's the QR code. You know what you need to do, audience. So do it.
Guys, lose the drive-through and go and just stand in line behind a beautiful woman and order her. Maybe pay for her acai bowl. Offer to pay for her acai bowl and see if that works for you. I think it's going to work.
It'll probably do better than, I got the coffee behind me at a Dunkin' Donuts. So yeah,
Right.
Go ahead and do that. And you got a promo code. So you're going to save 15% while you're doing it.
Right.
And you're very, very welcome. It's great to have you here. Thank you for joining Damon and Larry. What we've seen out of Brock Purdy in his last two games is nothing short of 37 for 45 for 535 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's so much easier to underestimate than he is to play against. And people got just so overinvested in underestimating him and overestimating someone else that they didn't want to come off their positions. Brock Purdy has moved the entire football criticism world off of its position to the point where now the only thing the doubters have left to say is system quarterback, system quarterback. My response to all that is, well, who cares? Who cares if I don't care if it's a system quarterback or not. Troy Aikman, system quarterback. Joe Montana, system quarterback. Did you think that Tom Brady wasn't good until he won a Super Bowl in Tampa?
It takes people a while, Damon. It takes people a while. I mean, I remember the lead up into Super Bowl 84 or Super Bowl 19 in 1984. The 49ers went 15-1. Joe Montana had already won a Super Bowl and went to an NFC Championship game in 83. And now here they were on the heels of a 15-1 season. And yet the narrative going into that Super Bowl was that Joe was clearly not as good as Dan Marino. And Dan Marino might have been the greatest thrower of the football in the history of football, and he was a spectacular quarterback. But Joe Montana had several traits that were top shelf, from his movement ability, like Brock, to his intelligence, to his
intangibles.
All the intangibles. And what did he do? He didn't just beat Marino in that Super Bowl. He won the MVP. He won the MVP of the game. And then he went on and won 2 more after that. And probably would have won 3 or 4 more if the Niners didn't trade Charles Haley and have some, meltdowns along the way. Joe maybe winds up at 6 or 7.
Right. Had he not gotten crushed in that Giants game, which changed his physicality, his physical abilities for the rest of his career. Who knows?
Different era.
Who knows what it would have been? What just shows you how dangerous the Niners are is what they're doing on these opening drives. I mean, I think an opening drive says a lot about a team, its ability to prepare, how good your head coach is, how well you are at executing a tailor-made game plan around your opponent. And the 49ers have now found pay dirt 4 times in 5 weeks on the opening drive. They've scored 31 points on opening drives this season. That's the best in the NFL. This is the 7th consecutive regular season game, going back to last year again, that the 49ers have scored on an opening drive, whether it be field goal or touchdown. Kyle is seeing points on first drives now, 7 games in a row. That is proof positive.
And what did Purdy do in that drive? He went 4 for 4.
Purdy he only goes 4 for 4 on drives these days, Larry. It's what he does. But it's
4 for 4 with 4 hitting 3 different receivers. He went 4 for 4.
It was the perfect opening drive because it let the Cowboys know it's coming from everywhere tonight. McCaffrey got touches, Debo got touches, Kittle got his touch, Ayuk got his touch, spreading it around, giving the Dallas Cowboys eyes to put everywhere. You got to defend every blade of grass when you're defending this 49ers offense. And again, on a night where the offense put up an amount of points that everyone's going to concentrate, look at what that defense did. Larry, can we spend 5 minutes talking about Fred Warner?
I mean, he was spectacular.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely spectacular. It was a virtuoso performance. He became the first Niner since Navarro Bowman in 2013 to post a sack, an interception, and a forced fumble in the same game. And now I think it has to be at least brought up. Is Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, where does that combo sit next to Willis and Bowman? Next to the great Niner linebacker combos in history. Willis and Bowman, I thought, were the tip of the sphere and tip of the spear and just an unbelievable combo. And it petered out because of injuries, devastating injuries to both guys. But Fred Warner is the best coverage linebacker in the game today. He can cover down the field like a defensive back. He can blitz and sack the quarterback like a defensive lineman. And then Greenlaw is just flat out nasty. I mean, Greenlaw, how about that first tackle on the sideline where he just threw the guy down? It was definitely out of bounds. He probably should have been penalized. Luckily he wasn't. But Greenlaw is, to me, the tone-setting player on this team. He is the guy that everybody falls behind when it comes to who's going to set the tone of physicality, speed, and swagger. It's Dre Greenlaw.
Well, I think, the 49ers had the defensive player of the year last year in Nick Bosa. I think they might have the defensive player of the year this year in Fred Warner. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in that conversation when the season is over. Chris Collinsworth went out of his way last night to just talk about the interception he made after the Diamador Lenore tip. By the way, Diamador Lenore did more to help the Niners win, just tipping the ball once off of his leg, once with his hand to create 2 turnovers, keep that fumble in bounds when it went off his leg. And then he creates the tip drill that Chris Collinsworth said. So Fred Warner's in the other direction. He's on the other side of the field, and he comes back across hash to hash with an unbelievable amount of speed to even find the ball to pluck out of the air for his interception last night. Fred Warner has a gear, has an ability. He was running. Look, technically, he got cooked by Brandon Cooks a little bit there. It had Dak delivered the right ball, Cooks is walking in for 6. But there's no linebacker in the world that should be able to run with Cook. Not one.
Yeah.
And Fred Warner did the very best job you can running with one of the fastest players in all of football. He's a linebacker covering a slot receiver 55 yards downfield. That you can't even ask a linebacker to do that. The fact that Kyle is comfortable, that Steve Wilks is comfortable giving Willis, listen to me, giving Patrick Willis given Fred Warner that defensive assignment, is all you need to know what they think about Fred Warner. He can do anything. That's what they think of him. We have a
leader.
Who can do anything.
He's a leader too. I mean, Damon, I'm down there every practice. This guy's the guy who's talking it up. This is the guy who's telling his teammates, let's effing go. And, he's the guy who's like, gets everybody going. And he doesn't do it with like a, arrogance. It's more like, we're going to do this together kind of a thing. But he is the guy that gets that energy going at practice. He's the guy who really, you can tell. I mean, you sit down early in the week to talk about Tony Pollard. It was abundantly clear when I asked him about Pollard, like literally on Tuesday, that he had fully developed thoughts on Pollard compared to Connor from the week before, and what he liked about Pollard and what he had studied about Pollard. This guy loves at the end of the day, you got to love the process of pro football. There's pro football on Sundays, but that's what we see. Pro football is about the process of pro football. These guys show up with suits and briefcases. You know what I mean? They show up with laptops, and it's a job, and they work at it. And it's what you do, Sunday, not just on Sunday, but Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And they can bring these films home, and they're watching it. And it's like, if you're wed to the process of football, you're going to improve in your off days. And that's what Fred is. I mean, when he started talking about Pollard this week on Tuesday and the detail that he had when I asked him about it, it was like, to me, it was clear, like, if I had had a follow-up question, I'd be like, Fred, it sounds like you've spent 3 hours watching Tony Pollard. And I bet you anything he would have said, I have. You know what I mean?
It's been about 5, Larry.
Right.
Not just 3. It's
right. The guy's put in the work.
Not only do the 49ers have the raw talent, they've got the students. They're students of the game. Veterans, rookies, guys in between, few years of experience, few first-team All-Pros under their belt. Nobody stops studying. Nobody stops grinding. I haven't seen a 49er really represent a human weak point on this team. Who is the worst Niner? That's a tough conversation to have, right? That's a hard player to find. Who is the one guy who has not lived up to their job, their reputation, what Kyle asks of them? Don't just say, well, it's Ambry Thomas because he's gotten burnt on a few routes.
No.
Look, corners get burnt. That happens. That's football. Play the next play. You're going to lose reps when you're a cornerback in this league. I know you only see the highlight film of Deion Sanders. Deion lost reps in this league as one of the great cover corners of all time. It's just the way it goes. So you can't look
you're
at
right.
a singular play.
And they're loaded. I mean, they're deep on the practice squad. I mean, as proof is Quantrez Knight got picked off and Ilm Manning got picked off. And then when Ilm got waived by Arizona, the Niners signed him right back. So, yeah, I mean, the Niners have a great thing going. I mean, and it really, I think a lot of it comes to, I mean, they get great coaches, but a lot of it comes back to how they're building their roster. They're hitting on day 3 of the draft. They're hitting after the draft. They're signing only premier guys in free agency. So that gives their great player quotient. They've got a high percentage of great players, but they also have great depth. So usually it's one or the other. Dallas in the 90s had the triplets. They had Emmett and Aikman and Irvin. But then because they had those guys and they paid them at such a high level, their backups were not that great. And in the NFL, it's kind of been assumed in the last 10, 20 years, you can have one but not both. You can have depth but not stars, or you can have stars but no depth. The Niners have found a way to create a template where they have stars and depth. Well, and that's an amazing thing.
The single biggest highway that gets to travel down is Brock Purdy's price tag.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's playing like a $50 million a year quarterback making less than $900,000.
Right.
So that goes a big part of it. That goes a long way to helping Parag look like a fucking genius, if you don't mind me saying. It really does.
No doubt. By the way, a couple more supers on Purdy. We got this one from Clarence Molina, Damon. Purdy showed me he has touch and a different ball speeds and knows how to throw guys open better than any quarterback Kyle has ever had. Processing speed is elite.
Very good point, Clarence. Very good point.
He's got this one too. Purdy is him. He can throw the ball at different angles and speeds. Footwork is elite. Processing power is elite. Montana Young-esque. Kyle has his best quarterback ever in his career. Postman.
By the way, I have to say, that is my new most unwelcome phrase in sports that fans overuse too much on social media. That whole, he is him.
I know.
He is him. Like that's, I got a problem with those pronouns. not any other level of use of pronouns.
Wait a second. I see your he is him, and I meet you with it is what it is.
Oh, it's the word.
The postman in Capitola has been listening to you for years, Damon. Said yesterday, Texas Rangers 11, Dallas Cowboys 10.
You know what that gets for postman? He always likes one of those. Oh, by the way.
Get rid of Bruce Bochy. I'd rather have Gabe Kapler.
The 49ers have officially earned this, too. Ray Ratto cringes somewhere in America.
Steve O says, hey, guys, great show. Any update on Aaron Banks? It's a bicep injury. We don't know the extent of it. We'll find out today when Kyle speaks to the media. Dazo says, how good were our linebackers last night? I hope Greenlaw makes the Pro Bowl. Yeah, seriously.
Hey, also, look, shout out Isaiah Oliver. He's easy to overlook. You know,
Yes.
Gibson's out there making plays and getting interceptions to get people talking about him. Isaiah Oliver, he won his battles against CD Lamb last night. He was really good. And the fact that Dallas got nothing going in that passing game, Dallas loves to attack slot receivers. It's where CD usually lines up. And they snuffed them out all night long. And it was Isaiah Oliver mostly doing it. Diamador Lenore, you get a gold star too.
Isaiah, go look on my YouTube page. I did an interview last week in the locker room with Isaiah Oliver because I knew that CeeDee Lamb was going to be in the slot against Oliver. And we talked about different mindsets about going against bigger players as opposed to faster players and how his film study and the matchup with CD and what he saw. There's some really good stuff there that if you look at it in hindsight, you'd be like, wow. Isaiah Oliver really had a good idea of what CeeDee Lamb was bringing to the table before the game.
I even see a comment on here. Drew Down, longtime listener, love Drew. He's like, yeah, Oliver got cooked by Turpin last night. Turpin cooks dudes. That's what he does, though. He's got ridiculous speed, and that was the one play that actually worked for the Cowboys last night. You know, if all you want to do is talk about the one play he got cooked, what about the other 25 that he didn't?
Right. Well, and also, guess what? There's an old saying that these guys use in the locker room. Those guys get paid too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Those guys get paid too. So they're supposed to be good. Drunken Ninja says Brock's an assassin, unassuming and lethal. Sheesh. I got to use sheesh more.
Sheesh.
And then Kev, my son, has tweeted this out from the presser. Look at this one, Damon. This is from yesterday's presser. After the game. This is Shanahan last night after the game talking about Brock. Here we go. Let's see here. I think I turned down the volume. Where's the volume on it? There it is.
Challenge of a play caller.
Hold on a second.
You do too many, and eventually you're going to get them a chance to make a big.
Here we go.
Drag it back. Here we go.
So you guys get a feel for when Brock is kind of running hot, when he had that series there, when he had the deep pass that you just threw a linebacker, the play that was called back, and then he kept going with it. Did you sense that he was looking pretty good?
Yeah, I felt that way with him all day. So there wasn't a time that I didn't feel he was like that. You just got to be careful when you feel that way from beginning to end that you don't just start calling too many passes. That's usually the challenge of a play caller because you do too many and eventually you're going to give them a chance to make a big play. But we felt if we can mix in enough that he was pretty on and we could handle their protections just by him getting rid of it. And he was fun to coach today.
I mean, now we're talking. This is the same coach that took the ball out of Jimmy Garoppolo's hands, and now he's worried about calling too many passes. And Damon, to me, the most interesting aspect of the 49er offense this year that I didn't realize until I looked deep into the numbers going into this Dallas game is that Shanahan this year has really let his his offensive line be on an island. In other words, George Kittle has only stayed in to block like 3 times a game. Kyle Juszczyk and Christian McCaffrey have only been used to block a handful of times. The way Kyle has gone about it, he has put 5 guys in the pattern and basically just said, hey, second-year quarterback that everybody doubts, I'm putting it all on you. I'm not going to block. I'm not going to leave the tight end in. I'm not going to chip these guys. I'm going to leave it on you to process what you see at the line of scrimmage, have 5 eligibles, and then get the ball out fast.
Right. You got 3 Mississippi to make a decision. Make the right one, and we can win.
Right, and he's got total belief in Brock that Brock will make the right decision. And that, to me, Damon, is a major part of his his confidence that he has in Brock Purdy, is that he puts it all on his plate. He basically says, Brock, here, you do it, you figure it out, you make it all happen. We're not gonna send extra blockers and devote extra blockers. We're just gonna let you decide. This is what I asked Brock. Listen to this one. This is a really good one, Damon. This is what I asked Brock earlier in the week about 5 eligibles versus.
I've seen this video. This is a great answer from Brock.
Listen to this one. This is Brock earlier this week. I asked him.
Defend the whole.
Here's the question.
Listen. First of all, listen to that handsome question.
Yeah. Before you listen to Brock, listen to this awesome question.
Brock, looking at the numbers, in the first month, Kyle's preferring not to have the tight end staying in block and the fullback block. He's getting 5 out in the pattern and making them defend the whole field and kind of putting it on you to get the ball out quick. Is that the way you like to play? Is that a Kyle preference? Do you have a preference? Do you want 5 in the pattern? Would you rather have the tight end blocking? How do you look at offensive football?
Yeah, I feel like it just depends. Obviously against the team that we're going against, the situation where we're at in the game. But obviously with the playmakers that we have, for my sake, it's like, man, if everyone could be an option, in the pass game in one play, like I love that. Obviously, like everyone is really good. Get the ball in space, they can make something crazy happen with it. So obviously, it's nice as a quarterback to have really good players all be eligible in the pass play to get out and have an opportunity to get the ball. Depending on what the team's doing, if they're blitzing a lot or whatever, do we have to have help and have guys stay in? So be it. So that's something that obviously Kyle goes over. He goes over it with us as quarterbacks, and then we're ready to roll come Sunday with what we're expecting and what our plan is. And so, but I mean, I think it'd be any quarterback's dream to have, all their guys out eligible for the pass play. But it just depends, like I said, on the situation.
You know what I hear there, Larry? You know what I hear there? I hear, blitz me, you sons of bitches. I freaking dare you.
I dare you.
I dare. Blitz me. Go ahead. I invite it. Do it.
Yeah.
That's what I hear from Brock Purdy right there. He is mature beyond his years. He is. Look, there's a reason why Kyle was ready to walk away from a pick that he knew would be attached and associated with him as a negative, for all the draft capital that he invested in a guy that didn't work out, for a guy that is clearly more than working out. It is just, it seems to be. I mean, this is okay. Let me try.
You're right, though, because he knew,
right,
and John knew too, they were going to take criticism the day they traded Trey Lance for a 4th-round pick, and they said, you know what? Bring that criticism on.
Right.
Because we got our guy.
We're happy to lose press conferences as long as we keep winning football games. This looks like a quarterback head coaching relationship that is a very significant tandem. This looks a little Belichickian, Bradyian. This looks a little Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomesy. This looks a little Bill Walsh, Joe Montana-y, and we're talking about some all-time greats. And Brock Purdy, again, through 10 games, has the highest passer rating in football history with the second best completion percentage in football history, has 20 touchdowns passing, only 4 interceptions. None of those interceptions have come so far this season. It is a spectacular start. One of the things that we also do, Larry, is have our airing of grievances segment every single every 49ers wake up that we've done so far. Here is the list of things from last night's game I didn't like. Are you ready?
Yes.
Grab a pen and paper. I want you to keep this list.
Here we go. Wait a second. I got my Sharpie. I'm going to my notebook, my trusty notebook. Got all my notes from the game. Here we go. It's highlighted. It's collated. All right, here we go.
Number 1, I did not like the draw play to McCaffrey that took the offense out of field goal range in the first quarter. That's the list. There it is.
You're hyper negative.
The only time I wrote down, I didn't like that. I didn't like that decision was that.
Can I add one to the list?
Sure.
How do you not go with the Joe Montana era chicken nuggets, which are a staple in the press box? There were no chicken nuggets at halftime. None. We were leaning on paninis. Is that where we're at? Come on, Niners. Is that where we're at? We're going paninis? We're going panini? What happened to those dry nuggets?
Well, the chicken fingers,
that literally could be a weapon.
You still get a nacho option. The Niners were famous for their world's most accessible nacho bar at a halftime of old Candlestick. When you'd walk around that old German submarine that was the Candlestick press box, you'd go and you'd get your runny, probably made with more water than nacho cheese on your straight out of a bag of Ortega tortilla chips. But I would still always get a thing of nachos. The Niners halftime nachos were famous. Hopefully those were still in effect, Larry. But outside of feeding the media poorly, there is an awful lot to chew on for everyone these days. How about that for a segue, right? Feeding the media poorly, we still have an awful lot to chew on. There's a reason why you and I got laid off. I can't understand it, but anyways.
Maybe this Stevie P says your Giants rant was epic.
It sure was.
Thank you.
Larry, you make things
Somebody
happen.
said that to me in the elevator. Like, hey, Krug. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I saw that rant on Kapler on Damon with Damon the other day, man. Good stuff. Like, thanks, bro.
I mean it, Larry. It might be 29 of your greatest minutes.
Hey, it got the job done. Look, Kapler be gone.
I don't know when your funeral's going to be, but I know what we're going to be doing for a half an hour at your funeral. We're going to play the 29-minute Larry Krueger rant, and it will be immortalized forever, man. It was special. It really was. Look, the 49ers are incredibly special. It feels like the only thing that could really take them off of a Super Bowl track is going to be a significant injury, which beyond
knock on wood,
knowing what's going on here with Aaron Banks, they have gone 5 weeks of football without a significant injury, which is an accomplishment for any team, much less a Niner team that has been so snake bitten by injuries in recent years. But everything that you want as a football fan, you're getting. You're getting a head coach who knows what he's doing, with an offense who can run, a system that overwhelms defenses. You also come with an overwhelming defense to every game you play in yourself, with special teams acumen that we haven't seen in any other Kyle Shanahan year, to be completely honest with you. Kyle's blind spot as a head coach has been special teams letdowns. This has not been a great special teams run during the Kyle Shanahan era. He's getting the best out of his punter. He's got a kicker who hasn't missed anything right now. Kickoff return coverage looks better than I've seen it. Kickoff punt coverage is overwhelming to the point where there's so many coffin corner kicks, there aren't even opportunities to return the punt.
Well, he got a new coordinator. I mean, let's be honest. He brought in Brian Schneider from Seattle. Schneider's a proven special team coordinator. So, and let's be honest, they've also invested real dollars. I'll give you a guy who we haven't mentioned yet, who is a bad man, and he was a bad man last night. George freaking Odom.
Mm-hmm.
He is a Pro Bowl, all pro caliber special teamer. They went and got him. Jake Moody. I was sitting here going, what? Kicker in the third freaking round? What? He's a solid kicker. Mitch Wishnowsky, Ray McLeod. I mean, they've dedicated spots on their roster to real special teamers. You know, everybody gives special teams lip service. Oh, it's a third of the game. Yeah, but do you really believe that? Or is that just something that you say for a soundbite? Because you got to put your money where your mouth is. And the Niners have when it comes to special teams. They went and got a top-tier coordinator. They invested real actual capital under the salary cap in special teams players. And look at the results. Look at the results. They're really, really good. The one area that I'm a little nervous about is some of the coverage units, but even that, as the season has progressed, has gotten tighter. It's gotten better. Turpin, if you remember in the playoffs, burned the Niners with a couple long returns. The Niners have done a really good job in the return game. And Ronnie Bell's a great special team guy. They found a way to down the ball inside the 5-yard line, like in three of the last 4 games. I mean, with this defense, and with an offense that scores 30 a game, last night 40, and the Niner defense, if you can pin your opponent inside their 15-yard line, I'm taking my chances with that all day. You're going to go you're going to go 75, 85 yards against this defense without falling behind the chains, without making mistakes, without turning it over. You may do it once in the game, but that's it. That's not how you're going to live. You're not beating this team traveling 85 yards on every drive. And especially with Nick Bosa, where Bosa draws a holding penalty in almost every single game. You got to hold him. So that means you're now behind the chains. And guess what? When you're behind the chains, guess what Steve Wilkes did yesterday to Dallas when they fell behind the chains? He brought 6-man pressures. Now your job just got a whole lot tougher.
By the way, Bamboo Soldier down on the text chain on my channel, Larry, has said the Gettysburg Address, MLK's I Have a Dream, and Larry's Giant Rant. That's the list.
87 years ago, the San Francisco Giants were relevant.
Fantastic. Very, very good, Bamboo Soldier. Anyways, Larry, before we take a little look around what happened in week 5 yesterday and bounce around the NFL a little bit, I just want to bring up a few more raw data points from last night's game. The 49ers had 25 first downs. Cowboys had 8.
It was 14-4 first downs at half, by the way.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. The 49ers, again, only saw third down 11 times last night. They're eating up, gobbling so much yardage on first and second down. It feels like third down really isn't coming into play in these games for the most part. And when it does, they usually convert it. Everything that you want happening offensively is happening. The Niners can give it to you any way you want it. They last night had 251 passing yards while running for a quiet 170. It didn't feel like the Niners had almost 200 rushing yards last night. They did. Christian McCaffrey, even though he led the team in carries and touches, he got the load taken off him with Mason's effort last night. And I think Mason has earned the right to get earlier in the game touches based on last night's performance alone. I would like to see Mason start getting some goal line touches. But boy, I understand why Kyle doesn't like taking Christian McCaffrey off the field. The guy is a touchdown waiting to happen. So I get it. But the minute Kyle has another option for a bruise-worthy down, which goal to go is, maybe get McCaffrey into the decoy role more than the taking punishment role. But God, McCaffrey is such a tough son of a bitch. He got rocked. I think hit the hardest he's been hit all year last night. Not only did he pop up, not only did he stay in the game, but he would punctuate that same drive with his touchdown. So it's the
guy's special. What a trade! What a trade that was, by the way. Great trade. And this guy, he's a difference-making player. He really is. And you're right. He is tough. He is tough as nails. By the way, Dave Lombardi had this one on Twitter. The 49ers have scored 30 points in 9 straight regular season games. They're the 5th team in the history of the league to do it. The quarterbacks who have done it, Kurt Warner, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and now Brock Purdy. Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer. We'll see.
Last pick of the draft.
last pick in the draft. And by the way, one of my favorite guys on Twitter, and I know he's one of your favorite guys as well, is Baldy.
Oh yeah.
And Baldy, can we do a quick Baldy? Can we devote a minute here to Baldy?
If this is what I think it is, it's him just glowing about Brock for about 3 minutes. Play this, Larry. This is incredible.
Here we go.
The Cowboys came in with the number one defense in the NFL through the first 4 weeks.
Take the
and the 49ers decided to throw a Brock party. Like this little reverse pass right here is so well designed. All right, here comes Debo. But watch, now you get the ball back to Purdy. But already Ayuk has taken both safeties fishing. They're out on a fishing extravaganza, and there goes Kittle. Behind the defense, 38 yards, touchdown. Now, you watch this play right here. This is the Brock party, all right? Everybody's covered. All right, you got a four-man rush right here, but he's got an escape route to the right, and he takes it. Now, Kittle opens up as the defense expands. There's touchdown number 2. Now, 1st and 15. 49ers never stop attacking. Ayuk right here on this dig route. The throw is so perfect. It's this perfect. Like,
look at this.
You can't make it any more perfect. Purdy Velcros this ball right to the right shoulder of Ayuk over the outstretched hands of Leighton Vander Esch. Like it's Velcroed. All right, here we go. We're just having some fun. How about 3rd and 13? Ain't no check down in the 49ers offense. No such thing as a check down. 3rd and 13, they're going for it. He's going to rip this ball to Debo right here on a rope, in stride. Like, it's a rope. Like, stop this stuff. Like, this is ridiculous. This is the Brock party. Like, just rip it. Boom. Look at this throw. Look at that spiral. Woo! Tebow's like, oh, you want to play some T-ball today? Look at Gilmore. Just trying to get an ankle to stop him. How about this right here by Kittle? All right? You got, watch this head fake at the top of this route. All right? To sell this 7 cut. Right there. Boom. It gets Donovan Wilson leaning, and then here comes Purdy finishing it. Like just a drop. Just a pearl drop. Like this throw is just so pretty. Like, is this a real quarterback, or is this just artificial intelligence? Is this just AI? Like, did they just invent this quarterback? Like, look at his throw. Like it's an egg toss at the state fair. Is there any more? Is there any more I can show? How about this one? People think he doesn't have a strong arm. How about if you stand on the logo, that proud logo of the 49ers, and just laser this ball across the field to Jennings? Man, 49ers threw a Brock party.
Wow. I can
love
see that.
Baldy. I love
seriously,
Baldy.
I love Baldy too. And you can just watch. I could watch that all day. I could watch it on like a loop. You know, that is just incredible stuff. And, you know, you then work in a guy who knows a little football like Baldy and just showing, you know.
Well, we've officially reached the point of the conversation where everyone who knows football is telling you how good Brock is, and everyone who doesn't know football is still trying to hold out hope that maybe he's not as good as they said he wouldn't be.
Right.
That's where we are.
Right.
That's where we are. The people who know the game are looking at this guy and going, Jesus, there's no reason to doubt this. There's no reason for you to not invest in what you're seeing. And Kyle, who is never fooled by quarterback play. Kyle knows what he needs, knows what he wants.
And he throws around compliments to quarterbacks, Damon, like manhole covers. I mean,
exactly.
He does not. He's not one of these guys who's like, he's Johnny Feelgood, glad-handing everybody. He's not the guy spraying Drakkar Noir on you outside of Macy's. Welcome. You know, he's not that guy. He's not, you know. You can that made you laugh because I know you can picture that guy.
Reference. That's you're speaking to my generation. I mean, no one bathed in more Drakkar going to a sophomore high school dance, hoping that tonight was the night more than me. Come on, I get it.
A little Drakkar. Yeah, bro. I mean, Shanahan does not compliment quarterbacks at all. I mean, he's tough on his quarterback. And there was a cut earlier this year that I played My son turned it into a reel that got thousands of views. And basically what it was when Brock got strip sacked, when Colton McKivitz blew the block on TJ Watt and Brock got strip sacked, he went back to the bench. And I asked Shanahan at the next presser, I said, you had a very heated conversation with Brock behind the bench. What did you say to him there? And I got him in a rare moment where he was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell you exactly what I said. He goes, I just told him, hey, look, it's a 3-step drop and you don't have time on that play. And so if you don't have it, you got to tuck it away. If you can't wait on it. You got to tuck that away and protect the football. And it was a criticism, right? But literally that, it was real, and it kind of shows the level of expectation that Kyle has for Brock, despite his relative NFL inexperience. And it kind of shows that, man, Kyle ain't messing around, man. He's a perfectionist, and and now he's got a quarterback that works at his craft the same way that he works at his craft. And it's all come together. It's all come together.
Kyle wants his quarterback to obviously go out and make plays. Every coach is looking for his quarterback to do that. But as important for Kyle is the elimination of mistakes. And that's why I think Brock Purdy is his favorite quarterback that he's worked with, because the elimination of mistakes seems to come as easy to Brock Purdy as any other attribute that you're looking for. He doesn't make mistakes, which at this point in time in his career is extraordinary because he's a baby in this league, and babies make mistakes in this league. So it's an amazing moment in time. Don't wait for it to end to look back and appreciate it, 49ers fans. Enjoy it now. Enjoy it right now. These are special moments that are being delivered to you in historical, streaky fashion by a quarterback who within 10 starts has the second highest completion percentage in football history and the best passer rating in football history. He hasn't thrown an interception yet this year, and Brock Purdy just looks unflappable. Absolutely unflappable as a young man at the podium. A lot of guys, if they're having great careers in one way, they trip over their own fame or their own accolades. You know what Brock Purdy's not going to get caught doing? Getting hand jobs from a series of about 100 masseuses in a hotel. I'm confident he's not going to do that. It's not in him. He looks like a guy who was wired by a couple of parents who just raised him right. Just go to work, keep your hat in your hand, stay humble, work hard, work harder than the next guy, and let good things fall where they may.
Here's who he is.
Yeah.
Here's who he is. You want to know who he is? This is who he is. This is who this guy is.
What are you making? What'd you make? Oh, you did? You gave it to one of my teammates? Oh, let's go. I bet it was beautiful. What do you got there? I'll go inside of that. I like it. Ooh, that's pretty. Really pretty. There you go.
I hope you sign that jersey. I might be Joe Montana, sweetheart.
That's who the guy is.
Well, I love that.
That's who the guy is.
Now that I've got kids, guys who go out of their way to make little kids feel special mean more to me now than it ever has in the past. So that's great to see. And it's awesome. I mean,
seriously, that's who the guy is. That's who the guy is. Jamela13 says, is there a way for the 49ers to compensate Brock fairly or close to it to commensurate to it with his play through bonuses? What he's making is a sin. Well, first of all, he did makes like $840,000, so it's not like he's not past there. It's not like, hey, and the first collection today at church is for Brock Purdy.
Right.
Clarence Molina says 49ers equal remember the Titans, leave no doubt.
Look, I let me just say this to go back to the other super chat, Larry.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about Brock Purdy's payday. It's coming.
It's coming, yeah.
It's coming.
RG says, give Purdy a $5 million bonus. He still has roommates. That's right. He lives with Nick Zakel. And by the way, just if you're not feeling good enough as a 49er fan this morning, Anthony Blakely drops this one on us. we're getting Randy Gregory. He's a game changer.
Well, I mean, look, I don't
think
even
about
know
that.
I don't even know if he's a game changer, but he's another piece. And the 49ers are playing so well right now. They don't even look like a team that needs another piece, and they're about to get one. And what he looks like on this defense is going to be fascinating because it could bring out the very best in him. It tends to do that for players who show up. They show up, they put on a Niner uniform, and then they have the best season of their careers. So let's see what happens. I can't wait to see with this defense. How much better can you look? You know, I mean, if you can look a little bit better with Randy Gregory, that's great.
Well, imagine if you got a Patrick Surtain. I mean, at this point, the Niners have to think big. The NFL has 32 teams, but for the 49ers, they really should be concerned with about 5. Themselves, Philly, Dallas, Detroit, Miami, Buffalo, Kansas City. Everybody else, you know, like if you're a 49er coach and you got an extra 15 minutes and you've got film to watch and you can watch any film, you better be watching film of those teams. Because those are the teams that stand between you and the Lombardi Trophy. And every minute counts.
Well,
so
as I was spending an afternoon not watching 49er football because they were saving their performance for prime time, I got to watch a lot of football yesterday, and I really watched the hell out of that Eagles and Rams game. And Larry, I'm just saying that the Philadelphia Eagles are a monster, an absolute I mean, they are worthy of being undefeated as much as the 49ers are. They looked tough. They dominated a fourth quarter in the way that only really good football teams dominate a fourth quarter. And the Rams are better than anyone thought. And the Rams were in position to maybe steal a game from the Eagles. And then the Eagles just like a boa constrictor with that offensive line, which just never takes a down off. I mean, they are just moving piles out there. And let me just say this too about the whole brotherly shove, the tush push, all of that.
Right.
Any talk about outlawing that in the rule book is one of the biggest pussified cowards ways out of a Stop it. Stop it. Change no rules. Change no rules. The Eagles got something. Let them do it. They're not breaking any rules. They stop it. If someone can go out and stop that, stop that. But Sirianni literally calls a game differently than everyone else because he knows that 3rd and short is a 2-play scenario because you're always going to go for it on 4th and 1 with the Jalen Hurts squatting 800 pounds behind the best offensive line in football, getting shoved in the back. Like anyone who says that play needs to be outlawed, you're a bitch. I mean it. I really mean it.
Well, I mean, first of all, the NFL, before it's a sport, is a TV show. And if some team at some point figures out a way to have the right combination of factors and only did that play, they would outlaw it because it's terrible TV. It like imagine Damon, because think about it this way. What's the advantage of that play? You get a first push, but then you get a second push, and sometimes you get a third push. So what happens if on those 3 pushes you averaged 4 yards? So it's 1st and 10. Now it's 2nd and 6. Now it's 3rd and 2. Now it's 1st and 10. 2nd and 6. 3rd and 2. And what if a team literally pushed, did that tush push the entire length of the field and played ball
honestly,
control?
I'm not going to lie. I'd have the football hard on.
I wouldn't.
No, I would.
And the ratings would be a disaster because it's terrible ball. It's terrible ball to watch.
So
that's all I'm saying. In the grand scheme of things, if you took away all passing, all artistry, all athleticism, and just had some sumo wrestler push type situation where you just had the biggest, strongest, fattest guys and you got some quarterback and everybody pushed everybody, the sport would not have the ratings that it has. It wouldn't have the revenue that it has, and they would outlaw it.
All right. So here's what I would say as a head coach. Shut up. I'm not here to win a beauty pageant. I'm here to win football games. And if you're telling me I have the equivalent of the football version of a skyhook from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I'm not going to stop shooting it. Oh, but it's not aesthetic. Go fuck yourself.
I know, but I mean, it's like baseball. Are you a big fan of the shift? Do you like the line drive off the bat of your best hitter that lands in medium right field that's one hopped by a second baseman who throws him out at first, or do you want to see that ball go to the fence and maybe a guy get a triple? I mean,
I want to see the guy hit the other way, learn how to have an at bat that hits them where they ain't. That's a thing. Like,
that's one thing.
By the way, you want to talk another place where the San Francisco Giants got caught flat-footed when they outlawed the shift? It changed all of the mathematical equations that Farhan had, and he never even thought of that. Like, his math was based around beating shifts, and when the shift became outlawed, I think it changed an equation, and that's another place where Farhan got caught flat-footed in the athletic revolution, but we're not doing Giants baseball.
But
now.
My point is, what if you took away all corners, all athletes, and you just had 11 Michael Carters out there, 11 centers? You had 10 centers and a super and JP Mason is your quarterback. I have 11 centers and JP Mason. Oh, really? My defense is 10 Jerry Balls and nice
Jerry Ball reference. Nice Jerry Ball reference.
You know what I mean?
Lions.
I've got 11 guys that look like Tony Saragusa, and we're all just gonna
one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
I'm just saying there is some limits to it, but I know what you're saying. And I'm not saying outlaw it, but I'm just saying if you carried it to its logical conclusion, if it had, because we're seeing some of those plays, some of those tush push rugby scrum, I call it the rugby scrum. If some of those rugby scrum plays are producing 4 or 5 yards, that's not good. I don't know if that's a good thing. I really
Fish
don't.
and Chip says, are the Eagles just playing for 9 yards? Then it's push city. They should be.
They are.
They should be. Yes. That is a strategic advantage that they have over the entire league. Why should the league have to change its rules to stop an advantage a team has when football's history is the way you take away a team's advantage is by beating it? Putting them in a situation. How about this? The good way to stop the tush push? Don't let the Eagles see 4th and short. How come we're only blaming that one play? What about the 3 plays before it?
Totally.
Right. I don't like outlawing strategy that works.
Well, I would like to see the Niners use it actually.
Yes.
More. I'd like to see them and what I'd like to see is take Purdy off the field, let Juszczyk or McCaffrey be the quarterback, and get for your backup offensive lineman, get Feliciano and Zakel in the backfield as the running backs, and snap it to Juszczyk and just run up the middle. You got Banks and Burford are big guys, Brendel, and just try it. I like to see the Niners go for it more on 4th down than they do. I really would. And I think that's the future.
If they had a play that worked at about 98%, I'm sure they'd run it. By the way, remember Jimmy Garoppolo was great on quarterback sneaks. I don't remember anyone saying ban Garoppolo quarterback sneaking the ball.
Well, nobody's saying ban it. What if that's all they did? What if there was no Debo? There is no Ayuk. It's just seriously.
If it were the best way for them to win the game, I wouldn't hold it against them for playing like that.
It'd be a terrible show, though. It'd be a terrible show.
But did you win?
And if every team in the league did it, it would kill the league's popularity. You know that. So they can't do it. They got to.
Well, you're extreme.
You imagine an entire
every play we run in push is a little bit of an extreme in its own way.
I know, but think about it. If it's also very safe. There's no potential for interceptions.
The Giants got 2 offensive linemen hurt on the same play just a couple weeks ago. So how safe it is, I guess, is to be determined. But look,
as far as turnovers go, it's pretty safe. And if it did produce 4 yards, why the hell not? If you
literally just described the first 80 years of Big Ten football, and I'm a Big Ten guy.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm good with it.
Bo Schembechler just is like, hey, I like that, man. It's
4 yards in a cloud of dust.
Butthead says it's an unstoppable play. It absolutely is. You know what's the only thing that would stop it? And the only thing I think, what would be the answer to it? If it became in vogue, you know what would be the answer? They're going to blow the whistle after the first surge. which is, let's be honest about this.
Forward
they
progress.
should blow the whistle after the first surge. You shouldn't be able to get a first surge and then a second surge. Then you know what it becomes like? It becomes like the old Superstars competition on ABC, the tug of war. Have you ever seen people at an office picnic doing a tug of war?
Yes.
It's like, oh, we got the first one. Now here we go again. We're gonna pull a little bit more, It's just,
Hey, it's a sellout play from the offense standpoint. The only way you're gonna stop an entire offense is selling out to do it, is to have the Mike Singletary wide-eyed leaping over the pile, timed perfectly with the snap to go helmet-to-helmet collision with the quarterback before he even backs away from the center. Like, you got to sell out to stop that play. You got to sacrifice your body to do it, and you're exposing yourself to trickeration should, they actually ever pull one out. Here's the thing. They're going to line up for a tush push, and they're going to hit a tackle eligible one day. You watch it. Sirianni's cooking it up, man.
The Niners blew their opportunity. They were going against Philly. They had lost all their quarterbacks. They should have gone tush push in that playoff game as a practice. Just, guys, we're not going to call any more plays. We're just going to go McCaffrey at quarterback, tush push on first down, second down, third down, and fourth down, and see if we can get 10 yards. And if it worked, could you imagine if they had beaten the Eagles in Philly going nothing but tush push? That would have been the most epic playoff story ever.
Oh, so it goes from being bad for TV to the most epic playoff story ever.
But I'm just saying,
your team does it.
It would be fun. It would be fun to experience. But overall, since the NFL is a TV show,
sure,
they'd cancel it. They'd figure out a way to.
They'd
halt forward progress. They'd blow the whistle sooner. Do that kind of thing.
You know what this conversation reminds me of is, how come you don't have a sumo in the goalie? Why don't you just get a sumo goalie? The man's bigger than the net, and you just can't get scored upon unless you give it up in the 5-hole.
Sounds an awful lot like the late Ralph Barbieri.
It sure does. So anyways, the Eagles are a monster. I noticed that yesterday. The Bengals felt like Jamar Chase came alive. Mixon finally got a running game going, and that helped Burrow shake himself out of his early season funk. Bengals, put them back on your radar. They looked pretty good. Obviously, the ugliness of the game that was then won by the Jets in Denver was it was good TV and drama because of all the offseason drama between those two teams. The Jets still found a way to win.
Well, we should talk about that one for a second, because Sean Payton put his foot in his mouth.
He did.
He crossed a line that he never should have crossed, and he's paying for it dearly. And he's going to continue to pay for it. And that is, he went against the grain and blamed his own. And now, guess what? In the NFL, some weeks you get another team's A game. Sometimes you get their B game. Sometimes you get their C+ game. When he talked bad about Nathaniel Hackett at the presser, he broke the code, and he guaranteed that, and his Broncos were only going to get everybody's A game, especially from the Jets. And the Jets came out hell-bent to back their guy, Nathaniel Hackett. But it was a terrible decision by Sean Payton, and one that's going to have long-term ramifications. I mean, every team in the league just wants to stick it to Sean Payton for him for him getting personal with Nathaniel Hackett at his introductory press conference when he didn't have to. He should have taken the high road. Everybody does. He decided, no, I'm not taking the high road. I'm gonna bury Nathaniel Hackett. And every coach in the league looks at that and doesn't respect it. And now everybody's coming for Denver, and Denver can't handle everybody's A game. They're not nearly good enough.
And maybe they'll continue to strip that team of its assets and pieces, and that'll come back to benefit the Niners in a weird way. It already has with the Randy Gregory trade. Can't wait to see him on the field in Cleveland next week. And Larry, as we start to see the end of today's 49er Wake Up here on the horizon, brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods and their delicious acai bowls. This one's starting to melt on me. You can see the dragon fruit is starting to come on down a little bit. I should have brought a spoon down here. I could start digging into this bad boy, but I will spare you the indignity of me destroying an acai bowl. No one needs to see that. But do it yourself. Scan that QR
and
code
film
right
it
there.
and send it to us, and we'll put it on the show next week.
DBLK15. Absolutely. How about this? Anyone wants to have a video on the show next week? Get yourself to Palmetto Superfoods. Give us a hot 49er take and then a big spoonful of acai, and you'll be on the show. Larry will go and play that video if you send it to him. Anyway, look, it's a great time to be a 49ers fan. I've never checked that box personally in my life of I am a Niners fan. I didn't grow up here, but I've been covering this team for 20 years. I am more interested in watching the Niners play their next game than I've ever been covering this team. I cannot wait to see where this goes. They are fascinating. They're entertaining. They're fun. They're overwhelming. They're likable. I saw a regular of mine earlier on Chef Amy, saying, Fred Warner is really handsome. Dude, Brock's pretty handsome. He's not Garoppolo handsome, but he's a good-looking guy. A lot of good-looking guys on this team. If that floats your boat, you got that going for you. Hufanga's got great hair, for goodness sakes. This is such a watchable, fun football team that I can't wait to see what they do in Cleveland. And I think you and I are in the same boat here. This Cleveland game's a red alert game. This is a game that could absolutely come and get the Niners and bite them in their rear end if they're not Johnny on the spot for this one. But I have come to expect a level of preparedness and focus from this team based on what we saw against Arizona alone that I don't think they let down against Cleveland. But Cleveland's got a decent enough defense to make a day hard on everyone in this league. So
well, and they're coming off a bye.
Yeah.
Right? They're coming off a bye. And they're also coming off a game where they got shellacked by the Ravens 28-3. So is it going to be DTR or is it going to be Deshaun Watson? DTR, against the Ravens in week 4 threw 3 picks and was sacked 4 times, and Cleveland struggled to run the ball.
I wonder how many people know who DTR is. Why don't you say it?
Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie quarterback out of UCLA. But then there's Cleveland doesn't have Chubb. Nick Chubb's done for the year, so they're leaning on Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, Kareem Hunt. They're not quite the same team, but man, Myles Garrett. All you got to know is Myles Garrett and JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. They've got some big-time guys. I mean, they just give you an idea, they sacked to Lamar 3 times. They hit him 7 times. 7 times. 3 of the 7 coming from Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett might be having as good or better a year than Nick Bosa. So you're going to have to deal with that guy. And Trent Williams was in the locker room last night, and he was referencing big number 95. He knows what's coming. It's going to be a long day. And the Niners are going to have to get up emotionally for that one. So, especially coming on the heels of this, it'll be very difficult, you would think, to get up for the Browns. But, the one thing about the 49ers is they're a very professional team. They don't, they bring consistent effort and they don't lay a lot of eggs. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, every game's going to be a challenge. And this one is going to be Cleveland's defensive front is absolutely real.
By the way, did DeMarcus Lawrence play last night? I didn't hear his name once.
I didn't either. I didn't really hear Parsons' name.
Yeah. No. So look, this team knows how to quiet loud defenses. The Dallas Cowboys came in with the #1 defense in football, and they got skinned alive on national television. So if the 49ers are focused in their preparation, and their 15-game consecutive winning streak should suggest to you that they're pretty focused right now, they should win in Cleveland. but Cleveland's good enough to maybe prevent that from happening. It's going to be a really interesting week running up to that game. Larry, I know that you're going to be all over it this week, as am I. I want to thank everyone for watching this morning. It means so much to both Larry and I that you've chosen us here on our YouTube channels. This simulcast is something that has grown exponentially by the week. We are thrilled to be partnered with Palmetto Superfoods. We thank Charles once again for his patronage here. We encourage everyone to go get your acai bowls. I've got a show at 11 a.m. It's not going to be a long one, Larry. We've covered an awful lot of ground here, but we will talk a little bit about the college weekend as well. But I would love it if your audience, and I'm going to need your audience and your subscribers, Larry, to come on over, subscribe to Damon Bruce Plus. Help me make my 11 a.m. show one of the biggest 11 a.m. shows I have done over on Damon Bruce Plus. Hopefully a lot of people will follow me over there. I don't know if there's a conflict of interest. I don't know if you're doing anything at 11, but Larry, you shouldn't be because you were at the stadium till like 1:30 in the morning last night.
I'm going to take a rest.
To bed, sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little rest, and kind of gas up for the rest of the day. But, yeah, everybody go like and subscribe over on Damon's channel. Hit that notification bell so every time he goes live, you get his content. We did a phenomenal show, by the way. I would encourage all of you, if you're one of these people that has caught Damon and I each and every Monday so far, or I guess we were on a Friday once after Niner football, on this last Friday, we had one of the most fun streams that I've ever done. We started interviewing Brad Sham, the longtime voice of the Cowboys dating back to the mid-'70s.
He's awesome.
And then we said goodbye to Brad Sham, and we talked about this matchup. And then we took video calls. And we took about 10 video calls, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome. All kinds of people, Virginia, Maryland, L.A., Bay Area, South Bay, North Bay, all around the country. And it was very cool. So check it out. And we'll do it again. We'll do a call-in segment at some point as well. But, yeah, we want to thank all you guys for supporting this and joining us. Because here's the bottom line. Damon and I are savvy enough to know that you as a consumer on a Monday morning after a 49er weekend, you have choices. That's the beauty. You have choices. You can go listen to AM sports radio. You can go listen to FM sports radio. You can go listen to any number of podcasts or YouTube channels. And there's a lot of options for the sports consumer these days. And we're just happy that you're consuming us. Dazza says, as an Aussie, it's great to see the NFL taking a play from rugby. And if the play is so unstoppable, why can't every team do it? There you go. Appreciate that comment. But, yeah, thanks to all of you guys for supporting Damon's channel, my channel. And what can we say? There was over 1,200 people in the room at one point on this show. We're 2.5 hours in. We still have cresting close to 1,000 people in the room combined on our two channels. So, you know what? I'm loving the YouTube space. I'm loving the YouTube fans. It's brought us a younger audience. It's brought us a totally different audience than the older radio crowd, which we still love, obviously, greatly as well. So thanks to each and every one of you for supporting the Krueger Show. And, here I am. I started my channel in March of 2022. It's now October of 2023. We have 25,000 subs. 25,000 subs. And I'm probably making more money doing this than I ever did on the radio. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's supported this channel and supported this endeavor. And obviously nobody does it alone. My son has helped me immeasurably. The great Len Dempsey has helped me immeasurably. People like Damon, my media friends have helped me immeasurably. And I think this is the future. This is where there's going to be a lot more former radio people, former TV people, former writers who are coming to YouTube and are going to give you content on YouTube in the decades ahead. So thank you for supporting my transition from terrestrial radio to the digital platform, which is YouTube. And all I got to say is, I'm having a ton of fun, and getting a chance to work with people I love. So thanks to all you guys. Thanks to San Bruno Mike, who says 25 racks. Congrats. Yeah, man. Thank you.
2 stacks of high society, Larry.
Breaking 80 says, thank you, Larry. Love the content and the dialogue. Well, hey, you know what? Appreciate every single one. Riddy Musich, who's been with me since the beginning. He says, so killer. You guys all deserve it. You two have been putting in work for years. We got this one from David Muschek. You are the BP of YouTubing. Now you get paid. David Montez. Thank you, David. Appreciate you. Anyway, Damon does great stuff. And the first time we streamed together, people were like, wow, man, incredible. It's like you guys have done this before. We have. And we appreciate it. And we respect everybody in the space and wish them nothing but success. But check us out after every 49er game every morning. And we're going to bring to you, hopefully, a great show. Fish
good
and
luck
chips.
to everyone, but Larry and I are coming for every blade of grass, and we're doing it together. So look
That's right.
fuck out.
He's Warner, I'm Greenlaw, and we're coming to hit you. Fish and Chips says, here's a couple pounds. You'll all be replaced by AI. LOL.
There we go. The King's Pound. The King's Pound. We'll take it. Thank you, Fish and Chip. Larry, I have nothing to add. Your close was fantastic. I'm so proud of you. I'm inspired by you. Thank you for reaching your hand out and pulling me into this space aggressively, positively, showing me that there's a path out of radio. It's meant an awful lot to me, my family, my wife. Your son, Kevin, is a huge part of your success. He's becoming a big part of my success. He's gone out of his way to do great content for me as well. There's going to be a lot of great stuff that he plucks from this show that you and I are both posting all week long on our pages. So thanks to everyone for paying attention. We deeply appreciate it. And we hope to see you next Monday for another 49ers Wake Up, 8 a.m. The disruption is real. And so are the 49ers. And that's where I leave you. Larry, take us out, brother.
All right. Hey, you got 20 minutes to go get something to drink, go get a pull of water, and join Damon on his channel, Damon Bruce Plus. I'm going to go hit the rack. Peace.
Yeah.